Good morning and welcome to today's New York City Council hearing for the Committee of the Whole. If you wish to submit testimony, you may at testimony@council.nyc.gov. At this time, please silence all electronic devices. Thank you for your cooperation. Deputy Speaker Ayala, Speaker Adams, we are ready to begin.
Good morning. I'm Adrienne Adams, Speaker of the New York City Council. Thank you to all of you who have joined us today, and an extra special thanks if you've also tuned in yesterday to hear testimony from the administration. Before we begin, I want to take a moment to acknowledge the life of a 26-year-old asylum seeker who died by suicide at a shelter in Queens last Wednesday. My heart goes out to his family, including his partner and 3 children he leaves behind, as well as the communities grieving this profound loss. This is the second suicide in just 3 months by a person seeking asylum within our city's shelter system. The city has a responsibility to improve conditions across the shelter system to help prevent tragedies like this from occurring, providing the necessary support to keep people who have braved the harrowing and traumatic journeys safe. We need continued investments from our federal, state, and city partners in order to provide culturally competent mental health care, improved shelter conditions, and comprehensive services for people seeking asylum. Additionally, as we await the status of Title 42, I want to reaffirm that as a sanctuary city, New York City will continue to do its part to secure safe transitions to the United States. In today's hearing, we will hear from members of the public to round out the second part of our Committee of the Whole oversight hearing on the city's response and delivery of services to migrants. Yesterday, we heard from the various city agencies in order to seek clarity on how they're delivering services to meet the immediate needs of people seeking asylum and how they are planning to address long-term needs. I look forward to working closely with the administration on implementation and addressing the need for continued investments into these essential services. We owe a tremendous debt of gratitude to our community partners who have worked endlessly to meet the body of needs and have not only identified, but also filled crucial gaps in services. We know from our own communications with them and our previous hearings on this topic that nonprofit and community-based organizations have led the way to welcome and provide our recent arrivals with essentials such as transportation, clothing, culturally appropriate food, translators, and legal services. And while the City Council has also done its best to strengthen these efforts, more can be done to support the work of our hard-working community partners. Though this is neither the first nor the last conversation we will have on this issue, we hope that by convening this hearing with all council members, we can walk away with concrete solutions to address both the immediate and the long-term needs of our newest New Yorkers. Again, I extend my thanks to the council staff who have put this hearing together and have worked countless hours to make sure that we in the People's House are together. And now I will turn it over to Deputy Speaker and Chair of the General Welfare Committee, Diana Ayala.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and I want to echo that we have the best staff in town, so really proud of them. Good morning, everyone. My name is Diana Ayala, and I am the Deputy Speaker of the New York City Council and the Chair of the General Welfare Committee. I'd like to begin by thanking our Speaker, Adrienne Adams, and everyone who is joining us here today for Day 2 of the hearings of the New York City Council's Committee of the Whole on Oversight, examining the city's response and delivery of services to migrants. Let me begin by echoing Speaker Adams and thanking everyone who participated and watched yesterday's hearing. We appreciate the administration sharing their insights with us yesterday and giving us the opportunity to ask questions about how they are meeting the needs of the thousands of asylum seekers who have come to New York City since the spring. We are in the midst of an unprecedented humanitarian crisis, and as I stated yesterday, while we warmly welcome these newcomers, we know that their unanticipated arrivals in such large numbers have profoundly impacted many of our city services. Today, we look forward to hearing from members of the public and the advocates and community service providers, many of whom have been working tirelessly day in and day out to ensure that our newest New Yorkers are being connected with essential services. We also hope to have the opportunity to hear from some of our new neighbors and learn firsthand about their experiences since their arrival. We're here to listen and to learn and to see what can be done to make things better for those providing services and those who receive them. We will be calling upon those who have registered to testify in panels, and if you have not already done so, please see the Sergeant at Arms to fill out a witness slip so that we know that you are here and ready to testify. Please note that in order to accommodate everyone who wants to testify, members of the public will be given 2 minutes to speak. However, we encourage everyone to submit written testimony, which can be as detailed and as extensive as you wish. Please know that all written testimony will be reviewed in full by the council staff. We invite council members to ask questions, follow-up questions for up to 2 minutes following each panel. Before we begin, I want to thank the council's leadership team, as well as all of the dedicated council staffers who worked so hard to make this important hearing possible. And now I'll turn it over to General Welfare Committee Council Aminta Killawan to call on the first panel to give their testimony.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Aminta Killawan, Senior Counsel to the Committee on General Welfare at the New York City Council. I will be moderating today's hearing and calling panelists to testify. I'd like to remind everyone that I'm going to be calling up individuals in panels. If you are joining us virtually via Zoom, our staff will unmute you and you will begin your testimony once the Sergeant at Arms sets the clock and gives you the cue. All testimony today will be limited to 2 minutes. For those joining us virtually, remember that if there's a few seconds delay, that is normal. You will be unmuted and then we can hear you. Please again wait for the Sergeant at Arms to announce that you may begin before starting your testimony if virtual. Our first panel will be comprised of Donovan Swanson from the Brooklyn Borough President's Office, and Donovan is joining us virtually. Over now to Donovan.
Time will begin.
Thank you, Donovan Swanson, Brooklyn Borough President's Office. Thank you, Speaker Adams and members of the Council for holding this hearing today. I also would like to thank the multiple city agencies that have testified on this critical issue. Our city has welcomed more than 30,000 asylum seekers from South America in recent months, and with the prospective federal order to end December 21st, we can expect to be welcoming more families. Coordination on this effort is key, and while I applaud the administration's effort, there's more work to be done, particularly in Brooklyn schools. After conducting an internal analysis of DOE's SAM funding for Project Open Arms and DOE's 2021-2022 bilingual programs list, my office discovered that an estimated 51 Brooklyn schools that have received funding for Project Open Arms have no cited dual language and/or transitional bilingual education programs. As of the most recent SAM allocation, these 51 schools that have received an estimated 592 new students who live in temporary housing. This accounts for more than half the new students assigned to Brooklyn schools through Project Open Arms and more than half of the 95 schools that receive funding to support these students. Essentially, more than half of Brooklyn schools that migrant students are attending are likely being triaged for their basic needs with limited staff who are either not dual language certified and/or may not even speak their native language. Studies show dual language immersion supports long-term academic outcomes, as well as cross-cultural appreciation and understanding, building on student strengths and leveraging families' native languages as a resource in the schools. It is imperative that our new students receive the right educational supports and resources to thrive and succeed in their new environments. When we fail ELL students and students in temporary housing, it can have staggering effects, such as lower four-year graduation rates and higher dropout rates, leading to lower career trajectory, negative impacts to student self-efficacy and well-being, and their eventual reliance on public and private aid. Supporting students now is the best long-term use of public funds. To address this, I recommend a stronger coordination between DSS, DOE, and all other relevant agencies to locate families close to schools that are best resourced to support students' language needs.
Time's expired.
Thank you for this time. I applaud the great work being done in schools despite limited resources and commend this administration. We simply ask that we continue this great work and continue to expand dual language seats across Brooklyn and the city. Thank you.
Thank you, Donovan, for your testimony. We are now going to move to our first public in-person panel. And the next panel will be as follows: Christine Quinn, Cindy Cabrera, Lauren Galloway, and Funmi Akinowan. And I apologize if I've mispronounced your name.
Before we begin, I want to acknowledge that we've been joined by council members Narcisse, Palladino, Marte, Dinowitz, Abreu, Lee, Ung, Hudson, Yeager, Holden, Kagan, Carr, Brewer, Ariola, Stevens, Velasquez, Hanks, Borelli, and Hanif.
You may begin.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Madam Speaker, Madam Deputy Speaker, and the other council members who were here this morning, and all the council members who were here yesterday. WIN, Women in Need, we are the largest provider of shelter and permanent supportive housing to homeless families with children in New York City. We house 14% of all of the homeless families with children in the city. Right now, we have 274 asylum-seeking families in our shelters. In those families, there is a total of 700 children. These folks have arrived since August, and we anticipate that more will come if things change and as things change around Regulation 42. These individuals, because they presently do not have legal status, will end up becoming what we call long-term stayers. Because right now in WIN, those families who are long-term stayers are those who are not documented. Why can they not get out of shelter in the time that most other families do? And the average stay is 11 and a half months because they do not qualify for housing subsidies in the city. So yes, we need more money from the federal government. But we also need the city of New York to extend the ability to get housing vouchers to undocumented New Yorkers, whether they've come in this wave or they have already been in shelter. That will help people move out of shelter and stabilize their lives. We also need to get, and yes, the federal government should reimburse us for it, we need more legal services. Because there are asylum status, U visas, et cetera, that these families could qualify for, but the process is very cumbersome, it's legally challenging, and it's not the kind of work that case managers or housing coordinators are trained to do. You know, we've heard, and thank you, Madam Speaker, for noting it, the terrible second suicide. We had a suicide attempt of one of our asylum seekers at WIN, and they, thank God, are fine. It was, seen very quickly by their partner, but this is the reality. If people have traveled here through incredible danger. We've heard from a woman who all she ate for months was tortillas and salt. We heard from a mother stories of women having to sleep with the smugglers, the coyotes, to make sure their children had food. We heard from a mother who saw her baby floating in the river and thought her baby would float away. Homelessness is a trauma, make no mistake. But this type of homelessness is a trauma on a different level. And if we can't provide hope of getting out to a permanent place, if we can't provide hope of legal services, and lastly, because I know I've gone over, if we don't have mental health services at a very high and sophisticated level, these families will begin to lose hope. And what happens when people lose hope is things like what we saw last Wednesday. So we urge everyone in the council to push the federal and state government to give us more resources, to make sure that when resources come, that groups like WIN are reimbursed. We have already spent over $1 million more than we had in our budget to take care of families, and it is not clear that the city is going to reimburse us for that or be able to reimburse us for that. The city needs to extend vouchers to the undocumented. And lastly, and I know this is we just talked about it yesterday, a very important issue to this council, the 90-day rule which fills our shelters unnecessarily longer, needs to be taken away. That will move people out of shelter more quickly, so then we can move refugee families out of welfare hotels and HERCs into shelters where there are some level of services. Thank you for giving me a little extra time, and I'm happy to take questions at the end of the panel.
Thank you for convening this hearing. My name is Fumia Kinawano, and I'm the Advocacy and Policy Manager at Immigrant ARC. We're a member-based, thank you. We're a member-based organization that our membership includes over 80 immigration legal service providers. And I'm here today to urge City Council to provide $10 million in rapid response immigration legal services funding. Not only to address the immediate rapid response needs, but also develop the infrastructure to address the rapid response immigration legal needs that New York is continuously responding to, because migration is a natural phenomena, and it is essential that this infrastructure be developed. Some of the legal services funding streams like NYC Action and iCare that have been developed by New York City came in the wake of crises. But these programs are at capacity, and they are not structurally in a position to service this community with rapid response needs or the long-term immigration legal representation that will be necessary to adjudicate people's immigration cases to their completion. We're also urging that New York City partner with legal service providers who have the on-the-ground expertise to develop a system to ensure that the maximum number of people can receive these services, and are disappointed that after New York City's issued a $5 million procurement for legal services that failed to attract bids from these legal service providers because of those structural issues, that the city essentially stopped engaging. It is incredibly important to invest in immigration legal services, rapid response services, and we also would urge the City Council to support the Access to Representation Act in the state legislature to ensure that the long-term legal services needs of this population and of immigrant New Yorkers as a whole can be addressed, so that we not only can support our newest migrants, but ensure that we do not abandon them after our initial response. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Chair Adams, and all the members of the committee on the whole for allowing me to testify on behalf of the Hispanic Federation, a nonprofit organization seeking to empower the Latino community. Each year, thousands of folks arrive at our borders seeking protection. And with the absence of a national framework and infrastructure to support resettlement for asylum seekers, many states, local governments, and nonprofit organizations fulfill the gaps that are not sustainable. Many families and individuals face systemic barriers navigating our complex legal system and multiple governmental systems. With a one-year window working against families to find assistance to submit their asylum application is crucial. And if it doesn't occur, thousands of vulnerable people will lose the opportunity for this humanitarian relief. In response to the needs, HF launched a national effort in 2021, Caminos de Esperanza, to provide direct legal representation to serve the most vulnerable. Collectively, we're able to represent 590 individuals, yet with 1.6 million pending cases in our immigration courts, there is work to be done. Because of our model, we were able to see trends at the macro level and receive intel before this hit headline news. We connected the dots and organized an emergency relief fund, which is a dime in a bucket of what is needed so far. We're able to support nonprofits in New York State, in Washington, D.C., and Chicago. And time again, such as the COVID pandemic has demonstrated, nonprofits are on the front lines and are asked to assist with no resources to sustain their work. We are confident that the state and federal funding will come through to support New York City. And when that does occur, nonprofits should be funded, and we encourage New York City to partner with a diverse set of nonprofit agencies. At the Federation, our model has allowed us to work with our member and partner organizations to provide culturally and linguistically competent information and services. As one of many stories, a mother and father with 2 young girls who fled their countries because a family member were murdered, they were the next target. Yet they're on a 4-month waiting list to access legal counsel and are at risk of returning to that situation. New York is and will always be a sanctuary for migrants, and we thank the City Council for your continued effort to support the immigrant community, and we look forward to collaborating you to elevate the quality of life for everyone here. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Lauren Galloway, and I use she, they pronouns, and I'm the advocacy coordinator for the Coalition for Homeless Youth. CHY advocates for the needs of runaway and homeless youth, known as RHY, for almost 45 years and has a statewide membership, including 29 members right here in New York City. Thank you, Speaker Adams and Deputy Speaker Ayala and the rest of City Council for holding today's hearing and the city's response to delivering services for migrants. I will be submitting longer written testimony regarding the needs of migrant youth and young adults. Like many nonprofits in other sectors, RHY service providers, the majority of whom are funded by DYCD, are seeing an influx of migrant youth arriving daily without stable housing and in need of services and support. CHY and its members are confused and concerned by the lack of system coordination the city has implemented to support the needs of migrant youth, as well as the RHY providers that are serving them. Providers already are seeing hundreds of migrant youth accessing services in the RHY system. And despite working tirelessly to meet those needs of the growing population of young people, without additional funding for city support, some RHY providers have already faced having to turn away some of those folks that they're trying to serve. Although the level of capacity is at strain, it currently is isolated in certain numbers and certain programs. The entire sector is concerned that the number of migrant youth presenting at the programs continues to grow, and they will always be faced with having to turn away youth, both migrant and not, due to the lack of system capacity. In order for us to more adequately meet the needs of migrant youth and young adults, CHY recommends the city implement these immediate and long-term recommendations. First, translation. DYCD needs to ensure that all contracted programs have no-cost access to automated translation services through language lines, and the needs to funding immediate available to providers to cover the cost of on-site translation services. Transportation is needed. DHS needs to create a simple process for DYCD to programs to utilize Project Renewal to support youth that want to reunify with family members outside of the city, and Health and Hospital needs to create a simple process for DYCD programs to utilize that. Might I finish my final thoughts? Thank you. Legal supports. DYCD and the Mayor's Office of Immigration Affairs needs to share available legal resources with RHY providers, and DYCD needs to coordinate with legal assistance agencies that specialize in doing immigration law with youth. DYCD needs to make it immediately funding available to expand the supports of on-site and legal services for RHY programs. System coordination is needed for health and hospitals, must work with DYCD to ensure that HERC has specific supports in place for undocumented migrant youth, and DYCD is charged with working with RHY providers to coordinate that placement of youth in the RHY system. Emergency shelter. DHS needs to allow youth the option to be referred to placement in non-youth specific DHS shelters through DYCD to DHS referral process. And lastly, housing access. DSS needs to eliminate the 90-day eligibility criteria for CityFEPS vouchers and expand the eligibility for CityFEPS to undocumented migrants that otherwise are eligible. The administration and DYCD needs to identify landlords that have vacant units to match youth with EHV vouchers to free up beds within the RHY shelters. Thank you, and I look forward to our continued partnership.
I want to acknowledge that we've also been joined by Council Members Farias, Riley, Williams, Salamanca. Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. I'm going to let my colleagues really jump in. We've heard so much about barriers and financial barriers, funding barriers to services for asylum seekers and others. I know, Madam President, we've spoken extensively, but I just want your testimony to be very clear about reimbursement or lack thereof. And you mentioned already being $1 million out when it comes to funding from the city. Can you just let us know some of the specifics of what WIN has been paying for that has brought that number of over expenditure to $1 million?
Absolutely. So, for example, we in all of our shelters, we have food pantries. But they're basically more like a dry good food pantry to hold you and your family over a couple of days until you get your food stamps, your EBT set up. But now, Since these families don't have a status, and we don't have enough legal services to move that in a rapid way along, basically the shelters are having to provide families for all of their 3 meals and all of, snacks that they might need. So for example, I've been at WIN 7 years. A month or so ago, I bought 5 refrigerators. In 7 years, I never bought a refrigerator before. We may have to buy, as things move along, large freezers, because on an Amazon wish list we recently had, we had chicken. Not a toy, not clothing, not diapers, chicken, because we need to provide a full level of protein. So that's, one example. 2, we've worked and been very successful in getting clothes donated, but you have to make sure everybody has everything, and when we've run short in that area, we have had to purchase things. We've gotten great support, particularly from Trinity Church as it relates. They've done drives for diapers and baby wipes. But again, if you don't have, you can't wait until the next drive comes along. Lastly, we've had to pay staff overtime because we have almost all of the folks who have come in don't speak English. So we need translations, and we are working, and our staff has set up, and I'd be happy to share it with the council so you could distribute it, a very good guide to training volunteer translators. But still, and especially in the beginning, we had, for example, our maintenance staff, who have a higher level of being bilingual, staying late. They first volunteered to do it without pay, which is really a statement. We're paying them overtime to stay and do the translation. So those are some of the areas where we're seeing already $1 million plus, and I don't see that going down. And we've been working with the food bank and others, but part of the challenge is structural because we don't have refrigerators and freezers.
It's just amazing, to hear just infrastructures that were put in place now that really, really are just pushed beyond capacity.
And everything I just said comes before, at some point, maybe having to make a decision of bringing in mental health professionals that we're not budgeted for, or bringing in lawyers that we're not budgeted, for. We may have to make those decisions, particularly given, what I said about the attempted suicide very recently at WIN. We can't. And at WIN, we're in a place, I hope this doesn't sound arrogant, where we can raise private money. Not every group can do that. And what's going to happen there come June and the end of the fiscal year? And I just, if I may, I just want to, as a point of personal privilege, share a story. Some folks have asked me, well, is it tense now in the shelters between the folks who were there before and the asylum seekers? We had a mom go in her closet in the shelter. How much clothes could she have had? And find things that she didn't need. And then she went door to door to her neighbors, and they found things they didn't need. And then they sent a box, and they put a box in the lobby of clothes for the refugees. So if homeless mothers with children can find resources for refugees who have fled sexual violence, trafficking, torture, the federal government can certainly find dollars that can be sent here, and the city of New York can get that down to the providers who have been serving these families.
Hear, hear. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. I have a question with regard to legal services. You spoke a little bit about the city and contracts. Have you seen, yesterday we heard testimony from the administration speaking about an RFP for legal services. Have you actually seen the RFP put out by the administration seeking support for legal services?
Yes, the administration did put out an RFP. But when they failed to receive bids on that RFP from the legal service providers who would be expected to actually do the work, because they fundamentally had issues with how it was structured in an effort to maximize the impact and actually be able to staff the legal services needs of this migrant population, tried to engage with the administration and essentially were rebuffed. And so it, as the group of people who would actually be required to provide these services, a partnership between the administration and these legal service providers who are very dedicated professionals who care deeply about providing immigration legal services, who are contracting in often cases with the city in other programs, and who are urging the city to engage with them so that it can, so that a program can be developed that is up to the task of urgent, rapid response legal representation is something that is really essential.
So it sounds like one of the most critical pieces that's needed here to support asylum seekers and others, a mechanism that we heard about yesterday is essentially set up to fail before it ever begins the process.
Exactly.
Thank you very much for your testimony. I'm going to leave it there. Deputy Speaker.
Yeah, I mean, I think we touched on this a little bit yesterday on the contract issue and the payout rates and the disparities between what DHS has as opposed to what the nonprofit groups are expected to provide. And that's why, you know, we asked for a breakdown of the number of facilities that are under the umbrella of DHS, because they're running, I believe it's more than 50% of the newly open facilities, but they have additional resources that they can tap into that the nonprofits don't have access to. And so we were seeing, for instance, and I know that our speaker was heavily involved in this, you know, issue with the formula, baby formulas, right, and diapers, and nonprofit groups really struggling, right, paying Peter, you know, robbing Peter to pay Paul because they just couldn't make ends meet, and that was reflective in the type of foods that they were able to offer, and, you know, and necessities, right, things that we need, toothpaste and toothbrushes, and so we have a huge concern about the payout rates and the timeliness of the payout of these contracts, because in the same way that we rely on the federal government to help us out, right, we have to ensure that we're paying our nonprofit groups as quickly as possible so that we're not impacting the level of services.
Madam Deputy Speaker, if I could raise 2 points that go with that. One, just to make things more complicated. You know, many of the not-for-profit providers, both in homelessness and other areas, we are finally seeing our contracts begin to be updated for COLA and the prevailing wage for security guards.
Good.
That is a great thing. What does that mean, though? It means we have to pay out that money. In the case of WIN for security guards, it's about $2 million, and then wait to be reimbursed. At the very same time, and I'm not saying slow down the prevailing wage, don't get me wrong, but at the very same time that I've had to pay $1 million that I don't have. What's that going to do to cash flow, and really what's that going to do to small groups?
That's right.
Now, also, I just want to raise, as so many of us have raised, the issue of vouchers to those who are not documented, and the city will raise issues of legality on that. And I think it's legal, but I'm not a lawyer, and we'll let the lawyers talk about that. But as the lawyers fight that out, and ultimately those of us who think it is legal will win. That said, there are apparently 2 pots of money in this fiscal year and the prior fiscal year that the state had allocated for usage for vouchers for non-documented folks. Apparently in the second year they said that that money could also be used for something else. Okay, whatever. I think it's $100 million a year. Those are funds. It won't help every one of the individuals we're talking about, but it will help some. And as I understand it, the state designated it specifically, and that means those funds could be used immediately while the Corp Council and the Speaker's office, you know, debate the overall legality.
I have a question, you know, and thank you all so much for your work, because I know that this has been really, it's been a trying time, and, you know, our shelter systems, quite frankly, were already broken, and this just adds, a different layer to this. But in regards to the mental health services, because many providers don't have access to mental health professionals on site, and we know that communities of color has this disproportionate number of resources as well. I know, if I try to make an appointment today, I probably wouldn't get one for months. How challenging is that? And how are you dealing with that? Like in the case that you've referenced, were you able to deal with that internally, or were you relying on outside community resources?
So it's very challenging to get people seen by mental health providers. We recently had a client who we called, as an example, we called to try to get him a intake appointment at a very good mental health provider that works very closely with us. It was 3.5 months until he could get an intake appointment. That's simply not, acceptable at all. We do have the Thrive social workers in the shelter, but they're more of an assessment team. They are not allowed really to do that kind of one-on-one therapy we talk about, A. And B, at WIN and every provider, there are tremendous vacancies in the Thrive social workers because the salary that is allotted is so much lower than if you were to work as a social worker, say, in a hospital or a setting of that nature. Yep. Also, when folks have to get taken to the psychiatric hospital, very rarely at WIN, and we can get you specific data, very rarely do they end up staying there. And if they do end up staying there, it's usually for no more than 10 days. That's a long-term stay right now. So for that individual, they were taken to the hospital, they got some interventions at the hospital, and now we are working with them. And I think we're doing a good job, but I want to be clear, we're having, case managers and others, not necessarily psychologists, working, and social workers working with this individual. And that's, as this council called for the 90-day rule to be repealed prior to this crisis, you, Madam Deputy Speaker, held the hearing here on Councilmember Bottcher's bill calling for the establishment of a funding stream for mental health services in family shelters. This council was really visionary in knowing what a system needed because these types of systems do have crises that come upon them.
Unfortunately, yesterday we learned that a lot of the city council initiatives that have been passed by this body are being touted by the administration, but unfortunately they're not, they're not being used in the way that they were intended. And I want to go back to the 90-day rule issue because I agree that the 90-day rule should not exist. However, the problem is that we've increased the rate of vouchers. We've increased, the number of vouchers that we have. But if we don't there's no oversight over, wage discrimination. If that unit is not up and running, then, we're not going to make any headway, right? And there are just so many ways that we could be doing this correctly. But it takes a partnership, right? And it requires that we listen to those of you that have the level of expertise that some of us lack. So thank you for being here today. And I want to call on Councilmember Brewer, who has questions, followed by Councilmember Stevens and Hanif. And I want to recognize that we've also been joined by Councilmembers De La Rosa, Krishnan, and Powers.
Thank you very much, Christine Quinn, for being so knowledgeable and running such a great program. Yesterday, I believe that there were 4 buses that came, and 2 of them were double-deckers. And I believe, again, secondhand, that families were sent either to Bellevue, individuals, or to the PATH. So my question to you is just, because at the point that I learned that, the DSS commissioner already left, so I couldn't ask. But are we at capacity? In other words, where are they actually going to go? Because it's one thing to say row NY is not available, et cetera, but where are they going to go? And maybe it's New Jersey, Westchester, Rockland County at this point. I don't know, so I'm just wondering if you have any sense talking to your colleagues.
So as I said, WIN is the largest provider of shelter to families with children. We have a 1% vacancy rate right now. So, we will take anyone that the city sends us from PATH, which is the family intake unit, but we only have, of our 1,500 units, only one, or 1,600 units, only 1% is vacant. And I have no doubt that that is the same, the coalition may know more broadly, but that is the same for most of our colleagues out there. So then what happens, whether you're somebody who, is fleeing domestic violence in the Bronx, or you're someone who's coming here fleeing violence from Honduras, you get sent to a hotel. And the hotel does not have social services. It does not have 24-hour security, and it does not have a Department of Education liaison who is going to help your child get enrolled in school. And people who go to the hotels languish there much longer than those in shelter. And the city of New York pays much more money for a night in a hotel. And I think, that's what's going to happen. You also mentioned PATH. That's another area that, and this may have come up yesterday, that needs to be looked at, because the questions you get asked there are intrusive. If you're not an asylum seeker. But if you're an asylum seeker, you can't say the last 4 places you and your child slept, because it may have been on the banks of the river. And we have had challenges at PATH. Some intake folks better, some intake folks not so good. They had promised to change the questions, but that does not seem to have uniformly happened.
Okay. And the other question I have is obviously with the school and the asylum. You have wonderful people who make that transition. Is it happening in the schools where you have children from these amazing families?
I want to say the Department of Education has done, in my opinion, an outstanding job. They are the city agency that really has shined the most during this crisis. I expected day 1 of school to be a nightmare. And, we had said to the families, we'll go with you, we'll walk you there. And they were like, no, we don't really want that. We don't want to, stand out. It really went well. All the children were, placed. They had getting English language learning resources, really terrific. About a week ago, we had a follow-up meeting with Chancellor Banks, because we've seen some things that you can only see because stuff is going on, like children getting placed in the grade that is their age, and then having to be moved back. That's another trauma. Let's try to avoid that and place them up front. And he was incredibly open, and we've had 2 or 3 follow-up meetings since then. So I do really want to give the department and the chancellor and his staff a lot of credit.
Okay. And then the other final question. Yesterday, I did lose it a little bit, because I've met with so many CEOs of mental health programs with 40%, before even any of this, 40% vacancy and, can't hire. You know the story. Yeah. So yesterday I said, for God's sake, you absolutely have to pay the mental health community nonprofit more money, period. I didn't get anywhere. But I'm wondering if that's also your experience, because you did say what happens is you can be assigned somewhere, but the follow-up is not going to exist for the triage that you've done so well unless there's somebody at the other end. So I'm just wondering, you did touch on that, if you could expand a little bit. We are really in dire straits with social emotional.
Well, God knows I never lost it at a hearing, Gail, so I can't relate to that at all. But
I don't usually, and I did yesterday.
I like it when people lose it. But one of the things that happens is you can't hire mental health professionals because the hospitals are hiring them.
Correct.
Or you train them for a year or a year and a half, and then they go to the hospitals for even more money. And you can't blame people. But it is absolutely, in part, a financial question. Some folks don't want to work in a shelter because it's a different type of a setting. But if you can't even have the financial baseline conversation, you're not going to have any other conversation. 2, we know there's also a shortage of mental health personnel right now in this city, state, and country. And you'll remember, Gail, when we were in the council together, there was an equal shortage of nurses, particularly bilingual nurses. And we worked, the council and the health committee, with Jennifer Rabb, who was the president, is still, but Hunter, and created a program, an expedited program to people to become nurses, and it helped fill that gap. There is no reason why we couldn't again work with CUNY, whichever are the right CUNYs, probably Hunter one of them, to expedite an MSW or a PhD in psychology program to get more mental health providers out of there. But you're 100% right. If we do that and we're still $7,000, $8,000, $10,000 less
Right.
than a hospital, we're never going to get social workers. And you can't blame people. It's not like even that $10,000 is that much more.
Right, same problem.
Is that much?
The same problem in the schools, particularly the Spanish-speaking social workers go there for 5 minutes, and then the hospital says, and they go to the hospital.
Exactly.
So the
Exactly.
schools are desperately in need.
Another thing that could happen just on that point, but you could use it more broadly, is, there's a lot of scholarships that get often just offered to city workers. Some, but not all of them, are offered to nonprofits who have contracts with the city. And that would be a way to help people, give them an additional offering that they might, that I couldn't give as WIN, or the coalition couldn't give, or the federation couldn't give.
I believe in the budget, Madam Speaker, we did add some money for scholarships
Great.
for this. But, we still need to do even more.
That's great, though. Thank you.
And then the food issue. Now, you are able to deal with, then I'll shut up. Food issue. So that is a huge issue.
It's a
Because
challenge.
You laid it out. So it's a money issue, providing 3 meals a day, et cetera.
It's a money issue to buy the food, and it is a kind of operational issue to get the refrigeration and the freezers that you need to store the food. Now, each one of the families in the unit that they have a full-size refrigerator, but we still need to have the refrigerators to store the food before they come and pick it up.
Okay, so are you able to have some contracts to be able to deal with this so that you could have this kind of program, or that's
There's
not,
no contract.
bid?
We have in our contract, it covers our basic pantry, which, like I said, is like dry goods to get you past a couple days till the food stamps are turned on. This is the spending on the food and the refrigerators is a part of the $1 million more we have already spent, and we hope we will get reimbursed for.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. We will now turn it over to Councilmember Stevens, who's on Zoom.
Time will begin.
Hi, good morning, everyone. Thank you all for testifying. Really appreciate you being here. My question is for the Coalition for Homeless. Yesterday, DYCD testified that there's only 56 young people that they've seen from the asylum seekers showing up at the shelters. But from my conversations with providers and you guys, that seems like there's been a huge disconnect. Can you talk a little bit about how and what the support looks like from DYCD and how this communication is being communicated? Because the disconnect between what's going on in these homeless runaway youth shelters and what DYCD is reporting doesn't seem to be matching.
Thank you for that question, Councilmember Stevens. And I know our member providers, Covenant House, are going to be testifying after this, and they can speak more about their direct experience. But there was a lot of things that were said yesterday, and I think the biggest thing is DYCD hasn't come up with a plan. So not only is there no plan, they're also not providing any of the adequate needs, especially for the most obvious needs, which are translation services and legal support. But a big thing that was mentioned yesterday that I want to highlight is those numbers that you spoke about, the 56. We're still wondering where they're getting those numbers from because they provided this survey, but we went to the providers last night, and that survey has only been given out twice. So those numbers aren't really reflecting to what they spoke about yesterday. But I think in doing so, we know that also that was mentioned yesterday, 10 to 15 more buses are coming tomorrow. So we know that not only is this going to be continued issue, we need to continuously address it going forward for the future. So whether the number is 56 or not, it's going to have an influx at some point. But I'm going to let Covenant House speak more about their experience, but I'd love to get more of those numbers for you from the providers directly. Thank you for that question.
Yes, please. I think that it's really important because I know a lot of focus is often on the HERCs and DSS, but we forget that DYCD does run a number of homeless runaway youth shelters throughout the city, and young people are showing up there and they need support as well. So I want to make sure that we are all on the same page and that we're highlighting and uplifting those providers who also need support and with the young people as well. So thank you so much, and I'll try to ask my question when Covenant House comes on as well.
Thank you. Yes, Councilmember Hanif.
Thank you so much. I have several questions, so I'm going to ask them at once if you could jot them down because of time. So first, to Christine Quinn, thank you so much, first of all. Could you walk us through what services are directly available at WIN shelters? And then have you gotten reports of sex trafficking or abuse, and where do folks report any complaints or issues and needs? Is there a dedicated liaison for the newcomers? And then are there families who've asked to be transferred to a HERC, or are you receiving families from HERCs? And then on legal services, can you walk us through where the 10 million number derived from? And please share what the process is like from beginning to end for an asylum application and the timeline. And is the navigation center where folks are finding access to legal services? Where are folks finding out about what services, what legal services are available to them? And then on homeless youth, what are the biggest challenges you would say that youth are facing in addition to housing? We heard from DOE that the $2,000 that was rolled out to schools per student with 6 or more students is sufficient. And the comptroller reported that the number should be around 7 million, or 7,000 rather. So would love to know just what other challenges you're hearing. And then also we heard from the Brooklyn Borough President's Office for the need to expand dual language programs. Thank you.
I think I missed one of your questions, but you'll tell me at the end. So at WIN Services, we have a wraparound holistic model called the Way to Win. It includes case managers who do intake and also work with you on getting all of your benefits turned on, everything that you are eligible for. We also have housing coordinators who are kind of like our real estate agents who work with the case managers on qualifying you for FHEPS or for housing authority or for whatever housing options are out there for you. And then they work with you to actually find apartments that fit in geographically your priority areas and financially what would fit, and go out with you and look at those shelters. We also have what we call an income building program, which is a job training, job placement program. We call it income building because 32% of our mothers at intake are working. When they leave, it's well over 50%. So we want to think of it as, building our income. That does training programs, connects people to training programs, does a GED, high school equivalency, associate degree work, and job placement. It also, under income building, we have a college prep program. Last year, 34 when 18-year-olds or 17-year-olds went to college. The college prep program includes things like taking people out to visit Rutgers, meeting with the Rutgers president, meeting with Jennifer Reb at Hunter, et cetera, et cetera. We have what we call Camp WIN, which is a STEAM-based camp that happens all summer, but any day that school is not in session, any vacation day, and obviously that's a STEAM-based program. We have recreation every day, homework help every day. We have licensed childcare in all of our shelters, or in the process, as now we have to do new licenses. We have the Thrive social workers. We also did something different than most providers. We dedicated 4 of those social workers to be children focused and work just with children. We also have a very robust volunteer program. We have 2,500 volunteers who come into the shelter, some and do one-offs like a luau that I participated in once. That was a lot of fun. Or, every week Pepsi Cola used to do a mentoring program. The Junior League used to do a financial literacy program. I think I captured everything, but I may not have. And not all of those are paid for by the city. Much of that is paid for by private money. We've heard a lot of reports of sex trafficking from the families who have come in. I'll have to get you an answer on whether anyone has reported anything, but not a lot, is my guess. And the conversations, not dissimilar to other WIN clients, you know, start off more like, well, I heard there was. I may have seen others, you know, be victims of that, and then eventually you get to that happened to me. It's like peeling back the layers of an onion. So I don't think, yes, we've heard it a lot. I don't think we have had a lot of reports, but we will check on the number. Our liaison for these matters is our Chief Program Officer, Diana Santos. We've actually done orientations in each of the shelters for those who are asylum seekers to orient them to what the services are, what they can expect at WIN, as well as just other issues in the communities that they're in, et cetera. We have not had anyone, to my knowledge, I will double check, say, I want to go to the HERC. And I don't think we've gotten a lot of people from the HERC either. It's just if you end up getting sent to us because we had vacancies. Just oddly, we had a leak in a facility and we had a bunch of rooms that had to be fixed, which is why we had so many units offline at the moment that they were needed to. And you had one other question that I forgot.
No, you covered them all.
Oh, okay.
Thank you.
So when it comes to the $10 million funding figure, the $10 million comes from the need, given that the Immigration Legal Services Bar is completely at capacity with all of its current funding streams, to not only hire additional attorneys, to provide training to pro bono attorneys, and to really build out programming, because all of the legal services that have been provided to this community thus far have not been funded by the city. They're essentially organizations who are tapping into their own funding streams, pulling people off of other projects, because I cannot emphasize enough that they are over capacity. There are supervisors who should be training new attorneys, who should be training DOJ accredited reps, who should be supervising their cases, who have full caseloads as well, which is not sustainable and not conducive to being able to support especially tens of thousands of migrants who are going to need long-term immigration legal services, let alone the rapid response that needs to begin, because the consequences for making a mistake in immigration court are so serious. People who have been paroled into the country because they would like to apply for asylum have a 1-year filing deadline, so they need those services to begin immediately. They also, and I'm sorry, I'm shifting a little bit into the question about the process, but there is a difference between an affirmative and a defensive asylum case. With an affirmative case, you have 1 year to apply with limited exceptions, and you would essentially fill out an application that would lay out your asylum claim. It would then be reviewed, and you would go in and sit with have a credible fear interview with an asylum officer. This process is, it's very arduous. It requires you to be able to collect a lot of proof. It's the kind of process that you're going to need support either with direct legal services or substantive pro se programs that set people up for success to be able to advocate for themselves. But another issue is that because there is this lack of funding, and because quite frankly we have a backlog in immigration courts of 180,000 in New York, people also need to they need the guidance to help them from ending up in a defensive proceeding because they miss an ICE check-in and then are no longer have an affirmative case and then will be in an immigration court rather than being interviewed. They will have to defend themselves against a DHS attorney. And that doesn't mean that their claim is any less viable or that it could simply be that they didn't have the legal assistance necessary to navigate this process to avoid ending up in a defensive proceeding. And because we have such a huge backlog and quite frankly, the lines to get into Federal Plaza to go to the USCIS office or the immigration court are so long, there will be people who have been waiting overnight. There are people who potentially could miss their appointment or get confused between those offices, miss their court date, and then end up in deportation proceedings. So it is a process that really requires legal representation, and the outcomes for people who are represented versus unrepresented are staggeringly different. When it comes to the Navigation Center, the organizations that have been going there as of right now have been doing so essentially on a voluntary basis. They're not being funded by the city. The state has provided about $1 million per year in rapid response legal services funding over the course of the next 3 years, but it is not sufficient in order to address the needs of this population, especially because not only because of this backlog, but immigration cases are notoriously very long. And without being able to provide long-term services, these migrants could be set up in a situation where they get someone to initially give them a consultation, but not someone to take on their cases long term. And the very dedicated Immigration Legal Services Bar wants to be able to provide the long-term legal services to ensure the outcomes that are fair and just in our immigration system.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Hanif, for the question in regards to runaway and homeless youth challenges. And what we're hearing from our providers is first, like when they're coming in, translation. I mean, we do not have enough bilingual staff, and we are not paying people for being able to provide that, which they should be compensated. But when folks go to use the language line, it's backed up, it's not easily accessible. When you have somebody right there, they need to be communicated with right away. And then when it comes to the legal services, folks are completely tapped out. There's no one to provide it. People are backed up for years and they can't even get an appointment. So how are we creating a future for them here in New York if we're not helping them with their status? And that includes helping with working status and housing status. And as has been mentioned, is the mental health support. We do not have providers there. And then on top of that, lacking mental health providers, we don't have anyone that can speak the language to help support the needs of it. So there's quite the whole experience of whether you're entering in or you're trying to exit. There's challenges presented throughout, and what has been mentioned here today is that there is no permanent housing solution. They're not being included in the vouchers, and therefore, as was named by Wynn, when it comes to how the city really looks at the financial issue of vouchers, it is a lot more in the city's interest to provide vouchers than keep people in the shelter system, because one, it's not a permanent, but it costs them more money. So those are the main barriers and challenges that providers are speaking of right now.
Thank you so much.
I do just want to add that at the Hispanic Federation, as we were, addressing the language, we do have service providers. We work with partners that have that culturally competency, but because of their capacity to really apply for these opportunities, they can't tap into these funding streams. So, there is a network out there. Here in New York City, we have 174 partners that are in weave with our communities and speak the language and understand the trauma that's going on. So I think it's very important to also highlight those groups of providers out there.
Thank you all so much.
Thank you all.
Thank you to this panel. We are now going to follow with the next in-person panel, which is going to be Harold Solis, followed by David Miranda, followed by Alana Tornello, followed by Lena Cohen. And just for those who are joining us on Zoom, as a heads up, the panel after this is going to be the following individuals: Orlando Ivy, Deborah Lee, Ellen Pachnanda, and Jody Zeisimer. Now over to our in-person panelists. You may begin when ready. Can you make sure your mic is on? Thank you.
There we go. Good morning. My name is Harold Solis. I am the Deputy Legal Director at Make the Road New York, the city's largest immigrant-led grassroots organization. On behalf of our 25,000 members and our staff, we thank the Council for the opportunity to testify today about the needs of asylum seekers who've arrived in New York City, many of whom we've worked so hard over the last few months to support, and the city's response. We firmly believe that New York must continue to serve as a welcoming city for all immigrants, and that includes ensuring that individuals can access and participate in our society regardless of their immigration status. In the interest of time, my testimony will focus on highlighting the need for the city to build off its initial response and to shift towards long-term solutions that will ensure the city is better positioned to address the needs of not only this population, but all working-class New Yorkers. But the city correctly decided, right, if we're talking about the immigration legal services that you've heard about through the course of today and yesterday's hearings, the city correctly decided to incorporate triage services as part of the navigation center it opened earlier this fall. That made sense as an initial intervention. But as we approach the end of the year, we urge the city to develop a community-informed, long-term solution to ensure our working-class communities, including our newest neighbors, have the legal assistance they need now and into the future. Immigrants are struggling to find representation. You heard our colleagues from Hispanic Federation and IARC talk about this, and this is something that predates this moment. You heard the numbers of almost 2 million cases in the immigration court backlog at a national level, almost 200,000 here in New York City. These are all things that have happened before Texas started sending migrants to New York. If I could just finish my thoughts really quickly. I want to talk a little bit about the RFP because it is really important that as the city thinks about the future and how it's going to actually address the situation, it must do better than the RFP that proposed to allocate only $5 million for 2 years, which included the option of a menu of services, both from intake to full legal representation. As a legal service provider, we can tell you that on a professional and an ethical level, it's not possible to offer that kind of assistance with that little bit of an investment. Also, as the city thinks about the future, it needs to think about the workplace issues that this community will face, much like other immigrant New Yorkers. We know as an immigrant-led organization that this population is going to be particularly vulnerable to exploitative conditions in the workplace. New Yorkers are victims of wage theft annually, cheated out of a cumulative $3.2 billion and benefits they are owed. This also cheats the city out of significant tax revenue that are desperately needed to keep New York running. Rather than fighting for this piece of funding, the low-wage worker initiative, the city should prioritize and baseline this support. On housing, we want to echo a lot of the things that Wynn mentioned earlier. We agree that the city must do everything it can to better facilitate the movement of all shelter occupants from temporary to permanent housing. In closing, we want to urge the city to take these steps to move towards more inclusive, thriving outcomes for all working-class New Yorkers, including our newest neighbors. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is David Miranda, and I am the senior staff attorney and the only attorney providing direct services to the young people at Covenant House, New York. At Covenant House, New York, we serve youth who are aged 16 to 24 who are experiencing homelessness. We are the nation's largest nonprofit agency specifically dedicated to serving homeless, runaway, and trafficked youth. Since the current immigration crisis began, we have seen more than 70 migrant youth, and currently more than 30 are residing with us. These include the youth that we actually had beds for. It does not include youth that we have turned away. We are proud to be on the front line, helping these vulnerable young people by providing their basic needs among a variety of other services. We testified at a city council hearing in September that while we were grateful to be able to help, the situation is stretching the available resources for all of us that work with runaway and homeless youth. Our Spanish-speaking staff at Covenant House are doing everything they can to help at all hours of the day and night. We have implemented Spanish-speaking mental health groups and life skills workshops. We have started classes to familiarize our young migrants with New York City, including how to navigate the subway and transportation system and understand U.S. currency. The hearts of the Covenant House and wider RHY community have gone out to our young migrants. However, more resources are urgently needed in order to support targeted services that can be delivered by Spanish-speaking staff. After those immediate needs are met, there is a need for immigrant legal services. As I said, I am the only attorney providing direct services to the young people. Time and time again, I've had to meet young people when I first began a year ago in December and try to figure out who is going to provide legal services to this population. The need has only grown and it will continue to grow. If I may just finish a couple more thoughts. Another issue that we are having is the need for long-term housing. Ultimately, young people under the age of 25 will have unique developmental needs that have been compounded by the trauma they have experienced in their home countries and on their treacherous journey to the U.S. Dedicated youth immigrant beds and services, especially immigrant legal services, long-term housing programs, and vouchers, and appropriate translation and mental health services are urgently needed. Covenant House is on the front lines of this crisis and here to partner with you, the City of New York. Additional beds and resources are necessary to meet the needs of this crisis and to model to the world the right way to welcome abandoned youth and asylum seekers. I again thank you for the opportunity to testify today.
Good morning. My name is Alana Tornello, and I am the Director of Resilience at the Human Services Council, a membership organization representing over 170 human services providers in New York City. We urge the city to transform its approach to the 30,000 plus people seeking asylum and other refuge in New York City and to more equitably prepare for new arrivals. This calls for a shift from reactive initiatives towards meaningful investment in an exhausted human services infrastructure. Communities arrive after unfathomable struggles, including racist forced migration within this country, but their struggle is not over in New York City. Navigating immediate needs for housing, legal services, employment, healthcare, food security, and more, which will extend long-term for the many who face years of legal determinations. Our testimony draws from engagement with over 80 community-based, citywide, and national human services organizations who serve these communities. These organizations have the expertise to address acute and long-term needs, and they have shown up to do so despite very limited resources. Among the providers consulted by HSC, 96% reported providing services to people seeking asylum entirely or partially out of pocket. 40% reported that government asked them to provide these services, but less than 13% were offered complete funding for these services in conjunction with that partnership, and a majority of those offers were in reimbursements. Providers also want to provide services who do not currently offer them, but lack additional resources. For the most part, we are hearing that our providers are over capacity, especially in the concurrent COVID recovery, and still human services organizations help the city to try to meet the reputation its leaders boast, a sanctuary for oppressed people here and abroad. With that in mind, we urge the city to take the following actions. Create a dedicated expedited funding stream for comprehensive wraparound services designed with and for human services organizations, leveraging emergency procurement pathways for community services, but with multi-year funds and more access for community-based organizations, and ensuring just pay for workers. Design and resource a public education campaign for New Yorkers to better understand the situation faced by our newest neighbors. 3, significantly expand resources for care coordination and sustained case management, especially with community-based organizations, including expanded comprehensive service directories, expanded navigation sites, and data management infrastructure across programs that prioritize very strong protections for clients. Fight for more accessible and rapid employment licensing pathways, which demand the federal government to expedite the employment and authorization document processes, and advocate for New York State to expand access to the Licensing Act, regardless of immigration status. We also ask to remove barriers to short-term, transitional, and long-term housing, making city FHEPS accessible to all New Yorkers, regardless of immigration status, and to work with legal services providers to identify funding for emergency triaged legal needs and designate an additional multi-year fund for long-term representation, and has been mentioned. Yesterday, Speaker Adams called for us to offer pathways for dignified, safe, and abundant lives for our newest neighbors. To achieve that, human services organizations must be treated as equal partners and funded as ones by the city, because we have the opportunity to show that the concept of a sanctuary city is more than a tagline that fades when the cameras leave. Thank you for the opportunity to speak today.
Thank you for your testimony. I just want to check to see if Lena Cohen is still here. All right, Lena, yes, you can deliver your testimony.
Excellent. Thank you for the opportunity to testify. My name is Lena Cohen. I am the Senior Policy Analyst at United Neighborhood Houses, the Federation of Settlement Houses in New York State. We represent 40 settlement houses based in the city. I'm here today to testify on behalf of our network, who has been at the forefront of the community's response to serving the over 30,000 new individuals and families that have arrived from the southern border. Settlement houses, for example, in the Bronx, one of our members, Bronx Works, opened a DHS-funded shelter housing service for families to not only find temporary shelter, but also to connect with a benefits and access referral system that Bronx Works has, since as an agency that contracts with the city on services for all ages of a family, they really want to make sure that they're integrating their wraparound services to all of their new immediate opportunities to welcome these asylum seekers into their doors and then keep them there as they continue their journey to resettle here. Another example that I want to point out is at our member in Brooklyn, the Center for Family Life in Sunset Park has already helped over 130 families that have come to their food shelter for emergency food access. As these individuals, all these individuals being newly arrived asylum seekers, are waiting in line for their food, Center for Family Life staff then actually speak with these individuals in Spanish and connect them again with an internal system that then allows them to understand what sorts of benefits they actually have access to, and then what needs they actually will need to continue to talk with staff at community centers like CFL to figure out, well, how are we going to fill in these gaps? Because right now, there are a ton of gaps in things like early childhood education and legal services, which I speak to more in my testimony, but given limited time, I just want to call out a few recommendations that we see as top priorities moving forward. First and foremost, and I know a lot of my colleagues have referenced this, legal services. That's just an immediate demand that settlement houses have been stretched thin for, and as a network, we are, we want to be upfront that the field stands to overextend itself unless an immediate fusion of funds, ideally, from the city, because that would be the most flexible, but we're also working at the state and federal level to advocate for new funding for these legal services. We already have these systems and staff in place. It's just a question of making sure that our organizations, folks like Bronx Works in South Bronx, Northern Manhattan Improvement Corporation, and Washington Heights, are able to retain these staff for these very highly sought after positions that are more needed than ever. And then looking forward, we are also very eager to engaged with the city's new adult literacy concept paper. We saw a ton of incredible new policies and proposals in DYCD's most recent concept paper for adult literacy, and this came out at the beginning of December. And so we were thrilled that it looks like DYCD is already considering ways to expand one of these key services we know thousands of new adults arriving here in the city will need, which is access to English, and then also access to literacy in things like financial, health, and educational fields. So we are eager to bolster the adult literacy programs. And again, this is another area that settlement houses are already set up, have programs up and running through city-funded programs. And so, you know, as we see settlement houses using their own general operation funds to expand these sorts of legal, adult literacy, and housing services, we're very much looking to the city for an immediate fusion of funds there to bolster the settlement house network and really meet these new individuals where they're at with services. Thank you so much for the opportunity to testify today.
Thank you to this entire panel for your testimony.
Okay. Councilmember Brewer?
Thank you very much. My question is for the wonderful legal services folks. Obviously, you're working on immigration status. Are there other topics that you are dealing with the young people or in general in terms of legal issues? There are so many of them, but I just didn't know if there was some that stand out.
Can you please turn on your microphone?
I think for us, that has been one of the bigger challenges, is that immigration is a very specialized area of law. When I started at Covenant House, I was in practice a criminal defense attorney who basically now I'm getting a crash course on immigration law. So I had to stop doing any other cases but the immigration cases. So name changes, issues around orders of protection, doing a know your rights trainings for our young people on police encounters and what to do if you have a police encounter, which is part of what I used to do. I had to put a hold on and focus on immigration. The good thing is that there are community partners such as The Door that mentor me with my immigration cases. So they look at my motions, we conference cases. They've been an incredible asset, but their waiting list is over 700 at this point. So they're not taking any new cases. They just can't. And if I don't take the young people that I meet's cases, there's no attorneys in the city that are going to be able to do so. So that's been the challenge.
Okay, with all this new money that the Daily News just announced, legal services should be top, mental health legal services, top of the list, in my opinion. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for your work and dedication. I just have one question. Are any of your organizations working with, I guess with the exception of DYCD shelters, with shelter providers, that are strapped for resources and connecting them to the community resources that already exist?
It is the challenge again. It's a lot of the young people that I have met have since moved out of Covenant House, and what I'm getting is emails from their new facility saying, "Can you please keep working with this young person because there's no support out there at all."
And have you heard, in terms of language access, one of the complaints that we were hearing initially, and this kind of died down, I'm not sure if it's because it's gotten better or people just got tired of bringing it up, was the lack of linguistically appropriate staffing at the different sites. Is that something that you've seen has improved?
That is just speaking for my site, that is definitely an issue. We do need more Spanish-speaking support. Luckily, I am a Spanish speaker. There aren't that many Spanish speakers on site, so the few Spanish speakers that we have basically have a very tight relationship with all of the young people because they know us and they come to us for everything. So it turns out that I'm not only their lawyer, I become ad hoc, their case manager, and other like support. You know, we do have one Spanish-speaking social worker on staff, but it's one thing to say we need more social workers, and we definitely do, but it also has to be culturally appropriate social work, because there is a stigma around receiving social work among the population. So it has to be culturally appropriate social work, and we're doing our best with that as well.
No, thank you for raising that. And I want to thank, our nonprofit groups, because they've just been doing, tremendous work, and I don't think that they get the credit, that they deserve. When we fall short in government, they usually step in, right, to fill in those gaps, and are oftentimes not compensated and accordingly. So really want to shout them out today. Thank you all so much for your testimony today.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. I am now going to call our next panel. Our next panel is going to be a virtual panel. And again, I just like to remind everyone that I will call you up in panels individually. Once your name is called, a member of our staff will unmute you, and you may begin your testimony once the Sergeant at Arms sets the clock and says that you may begin. Our next panel will be the following individuals: Deborah Lee, Ellen Pachnanda, and Jody Seisimer. Over now to Deborah Lee.
Your time will begin.
My name is Deborah Lee. I'm the attorney in charge of the Immigration Law Unit at the Legal Aid Society. I use she, her pronouns. Thank you for this opportunity. As more migrants come to our city, we have an obligation to treat them with dignity, hope, and access to justice as we would with any other New Yorker. I'll provide a summary of our immediate recommendations and requests. Our Immigration Law Unit has a long history of providing a multifaceted approach to immigration legal services, emphasizing the value of full legal representation, a rapid response to emergent community needs, policy advocacy, and impact litigation. We strongly believe that full representation is our core strength and ultimately yields the most justice to our clients and immigrant communities. We also know that the current community need for our services is vastly larger than our funding for full representation allows. The Legal Aid Society seeks funding to allow us to create a dedicated community response team within our Immigration Law Unit to be able to pivot to emergencies and quickly provide legal education, screenings, and assistance. Regarding our policy advocacy and litigation work, Legal Aid has been a local and national leader in calling for reforms on behalf of our immigrant clients, including special immigrant juveniles, those potentially subject to the public charge ground of inadmissibility, and those in prolonged immigration detention. We are eager to continue pushing the federal government to provide more for immigrants in need, but need additional funding for this. Turning to the issue of shelter, the city's effort to house recent arrivals needs to be more transparent. The city must provide migrants and the public with a clear statement about who is eligible for placement in a HERC and what the rights of those with disabilities are in HERCs. We also ask that the city make housing vouchers available to people with a wider range of immigration statuses, prioritize permanent housing placements for people who have been in shelter the longest, maintain a 5% vacancy rate in the census for each DHS shelter subpopulation, continue to use hotels rather than congregate sites or tents to house recent arrivals, and publish a daily report on HERC census, intake, vouchers provided, and exits. Given the time restraint, I'll end there, and our written testimony will include additional recommendations. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Deborah, for your testimony. Now over to Ellen Pachnanda for testimony.
Your time will begin.
Ellen, I believe you are still muted.
Thank you. One day we will get this very quickly. I'm Ellen Pachnanda. I'm the director of the Brooklyn Defender Services Immigration Practice. I want to thank the City Council for convening this important two-day hearing to assess the city's response and delivery of services to those seeking asylum from the U.S. border. Our immigration practice protects the rights of immigrant New Yorkers by defending against ICE detention and deportation, minimizing the negative immigration consequences of criminal and family charges for non-citizens, and representing immigrants in applications for immigration benefits. This city council has long been a champion of the rights of immigrants, and one of the most profound ways in which the city has demonstrated its commitment has been through the groundbreaking New York Immigrant Family Unity Project, or NYFA, which represents people who are detained in jail and facing deportation. What we've done in this partnership with the Legal Aid Society and Bronx Defenders for almost a decade now is ensure that thousands of people obtain full representation for the complicated issues they face in removal proceedings. As others have already testified, there are many issues that face the immigrant population in receiving legal services, including the change in presidential administrations, the long pending cases that appear before immigration courts and applications that also pen for years. We want to continue to provide the robust and comprehensive legal representation that people need in removal proceedings, and we ask that the City Council maintain its commitment to the NIFA program and that any new initiatives contemplated complement our current work. With respect to those who have recently immigrated to the United States and have now arrived in New York City, we urge the Council to ensure that there is sufficient funding for both brief advice and full legal representation because of the needs of individual and capacities for people to navigate the Byzantine immigration system varies widely. Providing funding for full representation means ensuring that we can continue to provide multidisciplinary services for our immigrant clients and their families. In terms of our interest in providing additional services, we believe our expertise, again, lies in the complex legal issues that arise in an immigration case. This will be outlined more in our written testimony, but our office would be able to accept complex cases from the agencies that are handling screening or know your rights sessions. We can also do trainings to the community based on the needs of the city. But we urge the council again to prioritize incorporating future funding for these and related programs into the city budget as opposed to funding the programs through discretionary annual funding. We require baseline funding in order to do this. A deep commitment to funding our services over time would allow us to continue to be nimble and provide flexibility for the city to meet the needs of its residents and their families. Thank you for taking the time to engage with the providers around these important issues. We look forward to continued conversations and collaborations, both on our existing programs as well as new initiatives being developed to meet the legal services needs of our city's immigrant community. Thank you.
Thank you, Ellen, for your testimony. Now going to move to Jody Zeisimer for testimony. Over now to Jody.
Yes, hi. My name
Your
is
time will
Jody.
begin.
Thank you. My name is Jody Ziesmer. I am the director of the Immigrant Protection Unit at the New York Legal Assistance Group. We appreciate the opportunity to testify to the Committee on the Whole regarding recently arrived migrants and appreciate your hearing this two-day testimony regarding a range of services for this population. NILOG, along with other legal immigration service providers, have engaged with newly arrived migrant families through our various community-based sites, our central offices, and by sending staff on a voluntary basis to the city's Asylum Resource Navigation Center. We have been hamstrung by the city's proposal for legal funding with untenable deliverables, which we felt would not allow us to provide quality, ethical services and to truly respond to the needs of this population. NILOG, along with 10 other legal service providers, drafted a letter of recommendation to the city and to Moya specifically regarding the funding and programming, which I will provide with my testimony. I want to emphasize how urgent this issue is. NILOG has already assisted more than 20 families who have already been ordered removed from the United States without the opportunity to present an asylum claim because of the chaos and confusion at the courts. Many of thousands of additional families are being lost in the bureaucracy, the intense enforcement policies, and the lack of stable housing, and therefore fixed addresses at which they can receive notice of their hearings and other important notices and dates at which they have to appear in order to assert their rights. As has been mentioned by my colleagues, there are rapidly approaching deadlines to apply for asylum, or people will lose the ability to seek this really important relief. There is also a huge need for employment authorization cards. It takes 6 months. A person must wait 6 months after they file an application for asylum in order to apply for a work authorization card. So there are two issues here. First, the ability to apply for asylum, which is both
Your time has expired.
seeking the legal resources to do that, and then also finding a forum in which to apply for asylum, which is an issue with the way that the federal government has set up this population. And then also subsequent filing for the work authorization document. Finally, I'll just end by urging the City Council to pass a resolution calling for the federal government and for the Department of Homeland Security in particular to redesignate Venezuela for temporary protected status. The vast majority of the migrants that we are receiving in New York City are from Venezuela, a country which has been recognized as dangerous and an untenable place to which migrants should not be forced to return when it was initially designated for TPS on March 9th of 2021. Our redesignation of temporary protected status for Venezuela would allow many of these recently arrived migrants to apply for employment authorization more rapidly, and it would at least pause, if not end, their removal proceedings. Thank you for this opportunity.
Councilmember Brewer.
Thank
Your
you.
time will begin.
Along with other members of the City Council, we've been trying so hard to get this TPS, workforce, et cetera, because it would solve so many challenges, as you know. So I just was wondering if you could explain, again, because sometimes I'm not clear. Obviously, some people are working. Will that impact their, illegally, will that impact their status when they have their hearing? And second, I assume, Congress is trying to pass TPS. I know Congressman Nadler is trying. How would that help specifically if it was to pass with people getting their papers for working? And if without that, some folks have told me that they do get them, but it can take a much longer time. If you could just help to explain that for me. Thank you. Is she unmuted?
Are the panelists still on? They are. We just have to unmute them. Oh, sorry. 1 second.
Yes, thank you for unmuting me. So first of all, it does not impact people's ability to apply for or receive asylum if they have worked without authorization in the United States, but it does impact their ability to obtain benefits and to obtain the stability needed to get out of shelters. So I think that's the really critical thing, is that employment authorization is really the first step in a long process to attain the documentation necessary and the stability, financial stability necessary to really integrate into the city. And then furthermore, it is just an executive function. The Department of Homeland Security is in charge of designating TPS, countries for TPS, so it doesn't need to be an act of Congress. And my understanding is that it actually, while Congress can encourage the administration to do this, that they don't have the authority to actually designate TPS, although there certainly are legislative action that they could take which would assist this population. And this would allow, as I was attempting to explain, the process to apply for a work authorization through the asylum process is very protracted and takes a lot of preliminary steps and applications and legal assistance in order to be eligible. And TPS will shortcut that by allowing people to apply for a work authorization immediately, receive some of those documentation, social security number, work authorization, on a much shorter time frame, and will give them a stability which they can additionally pursue asylum, but they won't have the threat of being deported hanging over their head, and they won't have to engage in this very protracted process in order to obtain work authorization.
Thank you very much.
Thank you to this panel. Just a note for council members, when you do ask your question, if you have a question, if you can please name the witness who you're directing your question to, or if it is the entire panel, you can also say this question is for the entire panel, just so that staff on the back end can know to unmute the respective panelists.
Okay. Councilmember Hanif.
Thank you, and this question is for all of the panelists. Thank you to all of our legal service providers, and I know how tough this time has been. I'd like to learn a little bit more about how Moya has helped or not helped in providing legal services, or what the partnership has looked like. I know they had the RFP released, but it's since been deactivated. What would you like to see happen in the coming weeks?
I suppose I could take that one as well. We do appreciate the partnership with Moya, and many legal service providers, including NILAG, have a really long-standing, strong partnership. I will say that the response to this population has been markedly different from Moya's response to, for example, the Ukrainian population, an influx of immigrants from that country, in which we rapidly built up a program. Moya funded it. It was very flexible. They listened to legal service providers on how to build a program, what was most needed, what was the particular legal needs of this particular population. That did not happen with the recently arrived migrants. The programming and the RFP was, again, as I mentioned, very rigid, had very high deliverables, and we felt like it was not responsive either to the needs of the population or to what legal service providers were assessing the needs to be and what our response had already been in terms of serving this population. And again, I'll attach the letter of recommendations for additional funding and programming that we've provided to Moya.
I just wanted to add in that, our existing sort of contracts, including our contract under the Immigrant Opportunities Initiative, I think we're very grateful for this funding and our ability to provide services, legal services to individuals. I think it also, it needs to be understood that, for the past, I would say 6 years, especially during the last administration, cases that we had already taken on became incredibly complex and took longer to resolve and just became much more difficult to handle. Oftentimes we were applying for multiple forms of what we call immigration relief, so different applications. So we would need to prepare different forms of evidence in order to best protect our clients and their ability to remain in the United States. What this ended up doing is just creating an incredible burden on our staff with their existing caseloads. So when you have these sort of more recent influxes of individuals coming in, it just adds more and more stress to our existing staff. And I think that's somewhat of a unique sort of context to keep in mind, that this was already, and I think that Make the Road had made this point before, that this had already sort of been bubbling up before because of just the incredible struggles that we had to fight during the last administration. And things have changed somewhat, but things have not changed, dramatically. So things are still quite difficult, even still.
Yes, and I could just briefly add on to what both Jody and Deborah pointed out, and I do think that other panelists have highlighted this. It's not only necessarily the backlog of cases, which is certainly what exists, but what I think was critical to highlight here is that where Moya has been very supportive, as the City Council has, for these existing programs where we are funded. Deborah referenced IOI, earlier testified about the NIFA program. We've had the opportunity to really focus on those individuals who have complex cases. So these are not necessarily straightforward asylum applications. We are a public defender service office along with legal aid, and we do have individuals who have contact with different criminal justice, family justice systems, that we are best poised, given our years of expertise in removal defense, to respond to those situations. And what needs to be recognized here, we believe, is the ability to fully represent individuals. And that is what we were hoping Moya would contemplate in the RFP that was offered. That's what we're hoping for, and we'll again put that down into specifics in our written testimony. We're asking that to best serve the immigrant population, the current population New York City has, an influx that is coming, is to give these individuals the hope and the representation that they need. It is full representation. It is the ability to not only file an application for someone, but to carry that through. And that's the thing that, as Deborah was pointing out, that our staff has really been stretched to their limits because these cases are taking very long, because there's additional applications that we have to do. So again, we're imploring that the recognition this City Council had, that we hope the Moya would extend as well, is that the best way to do this are the programs that you do have existing, but we need additional funding for those programs. And if we're to take on these initiatives, we need funding that reflects the needs of the immigrant community, which is not to just file an application and walk away. We want to represent these individuals. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Narcisse?
Hi, good afternoon. I am so appreciative of your work. To any any one of the panel can answer that question. Do we have any funding for folks that have to renew their TPS? Because it has been a problem in our community. People are always wondering what can they do because they're always coming to me for the funding. And second, the folks, when they leave either the shelter or they're on the street or they go to the family, they don't have kind of financial support, and they're always wondering who's going to help them to the process, which best organization you think for the legal part of it to send them to?
Well, I won't tout legal aid just only. We have many amazing legal service providers who are, providing services to immigrants throughout the city, including my panelists and their organization. I think, a lot of the organization that Moya and others have relationships with are, reputable organizations. And I think that that's important. I do think that building stronger relationships between community-based organizations and the legal services community, I think is also very important. At Legal Aid, we also get a lot of, inquiries from local legislators and local government officials, asking for assistance, and we're happy to partner, doing, say, legal clinics and other things where we provide services and our resource for people to go to. But I do think that there are ways in which we can sort of develop stronger relationships with community-based organizations and these legal services organizations. I think sometimes, we do have these relationships and we do build on them, but I think that more and more, it is important to develop those relationships and invest in those.
And just regarding funding specifically for TPS applications, I don't think anyone receives specific funding for
Time's
that.
expired.
But the flexibility in some of our other programming, like Action NYC and the IOI initiative, have been really helpful to kind of pivot when there is a designation of TPS or a renewal period is open. And I think we're all very proficient at providing large scale services to populations. I know that we worked with your office, Councilmember Narcisse, to do Haitian TPS renewals and training the Haitian Bar Association to help them do pro bono services. So I think that is a need that we are able to meet when it arises. What we're struggling with right now is that all of the recent arrivals, asylum seekers, are being placed in enforcement and removal processes. They're being monitored intensely by ICE, and they are being placed in front of the immigration court. And those cases are much more complex, much more difficult, require a higher level of intervention for legal services. And that is frankly untenable. But in order to even protect people's rights, we need dedicated legal services in order to do that.
I'll just quickly say I thank you for the question, because I think it's really highlighting what Jody just said and Deborah did as well, is that the partnerships we do have with the community, we have done clinics as well. We have done trainings. We are open, like I had said earlier, to continue to do that to help the community. But I think what Jody just highlighted stresses the need to rely upon and fund those legal services providers who have been in these cases where, yes, there's TPS renewals that are coming, but like Jody was saying, individuals have been placed into removal proceedings. They are facing ICE enforcement. So there are many different factors you have to consider. And there are organizations that do have this expertise and the experience and the staff who can jump in there and respond. But yes, we are open as well to doing what the community needs, which it does sound like maybe more trainings and clinics, but again, asking that we're funded to do this additional work, because our staff, again, is being stretched even at the current funding levels to the limit. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you to this entire panel for your testimony. We are now going to move back to in-person testimony, and we will now call on the New York City Independent Budget Office, represented by Sarah Stefanski.
Members of the City Council Committee on the Whole, I am Sarah Stefanski, an Assistant Director at the New York City Independent Budget Office. Thank you for the opportunity to be part of today's hearing. My testimony will focus on some of the budget implications of the recent influx of asylum seekers to the city. This ties both to questions on the city's ability to adequately fund and deliver services, but also to the city's fiscal condition, as expenses associated with asylum seekers at the present scale were not anticipated when the city adopted its budget this past June. The total cost of city services provided to newly arrived asylum seekers is difficult to estimate, as the number of people arriving and remaining in the city continues to evolve. Because of this, IBO has estimated the annual per household cost of various services. This allows stakeholders to update cost estimates as the situation unfolds. The largest portion of this per household cost is shelter. IBO estimates that the annual shelter cost per household to be around $50,000 for an individual, $69,000 for a family with minor children, and $63,000 for a family of related adults. IBO's shelter estimates encompass all types of asylum seeker shelter stays. This is whether it is in a DHS-run facility or a HERC, as we expect the costs of associated stays at the city's current hotel-based HERCs to look very similar to DHS shelter costs. DHS itself has been using hotels for many of its shelters. Our per household shelter estimates do not include, however, costs associated with the construction, relocation, or demobilization of the temporary structure at Orchard Beach and later Randall's Island, as many of these costs have been part of larger contracts and have not been specifically broken out. The second part of our per household cost estimate is for public education. IBO estimates that the annual per pupil cost for students coming from asylum-seeking families totals around $8,200. This includes funding for the city's Fair Student Funding Formula allocation, which accounts for additional funding formula for English language learners, and also a special $2,000 per pupil allocation DOE announced in October for schools that enrolled 6 or more students who live in temporary housing coming from what the city has identified as asylum-seeking households. Along with these shelter and education costs, IBO also included per-person costs totaling around $2,000 for very basic healthcare and legal assistance costs. Separately, IBO has also estimated the funding that will be needed to be added to the city's budget in its November financial plan. The Adams administration included $1 billion of unspecified federal funding in this fiscal year 2023. OMB had put this money in the budget without identifying a source for this federal funding. Now, just announced earlier this morning, so this is late changing news, $800 million in federal aid is included in a federal spending bill that is working its way through Congress now. This is a national amount, and it will be for competitive grants run through FEMA. Now, one thing to keep in mind, border states and other localities have made similar requests for federal aid. And so this is, again, competitive grants, and we don't know how much of this amount of money, should it be in the final spending bill that Congress is working on, would actually come to New York City. Until this money is at hand, someone would have to pay for it. So without federal money, IBO estimates that for fiscal year 2023, the city will require an additional $374 million in city funds. Now, the November plan added no funding, federal or city, for asylum seekers for the next fiscal year, 2024. IBO estimates that another $628 million will be needed for 2024, and this is specifically for shelter costs. And to be clear, these amounts do not reflect the entire cost of providing services, but rather what IBO estimates is needed outside of current agency budgets for these fiscal years. Thank you for your time, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Councilmember Krishnan?
Thanks so much for your testimony, and appreciate that summary as well. You mentioned the November plan, and I just wanted to ask, obviously you're not the administration, but in your independent assessment, so we have revenue going up, both undeclared city revenue from our taxes, potentially federal revenue, though unclear how much we're going to get as a city. Needs are going up. Before the increase in asylum seekers coming here, now obviously we know the need is even greater and exacerbated. Yet, as you point out in the November plan, spending is going down. In fact, there's proposed cuts to a lot of services that would be essential for asylum seekers coming here in the way of social services, public benefits, and otherwise. And then you also testified to the added money that'd be needed to help asylum seekers here. So in your assessment, with spending, with revenue going up, with need going up, does it make sense for spending to be going down at this moment?
So IBO, we put out our fiscal outlook report just yesterday, so it's hot off the presses, and we have a larger revenue estimate than OMB does. So we estimate that the city will end this year with $2.2 billion in extra revenue, relative to even adjustments for what we think the city will ultimately spend over the course of this fiscal year.
Sorry, that's how much again?
$2.2 billion.
2.2.
Currently, the city generally takes any extra money left over and uses that to prepay the following fiscal year. So right now, that is assumed to go to help prepay next year. And IBO does estimate a small gap next year for the budget. Now, there are risks, and asylum seekers, we have no idea ultimately how much this will cost, how many people will arrive in New York, how long they will stay, and what level of services they will need, but also what level of services the city will choose to provide to them. And that is a budget risk. And so while we do have some cushion, it looks like this year, again, IBO estimates revenues coming in stronger than OMB, and that's largely because OMB did not update its revenue forecast since it adopted the budget, even though some revenues are coming in stronger.
But do you think but given the increasing needs in that sense, especially for asylum seekers, but also for everyday New Yorkers too who are here, do you think that given the spending or the increased revenue and the need for more programs and social supports and safety nets for asylum seekers, for everyone here, do you think that reducing spending at this time is going to help meet that need?
So what I can say is some pieces of social services, particularly the right to shelter, whoever needs shelter, the city will provide shelter for. And so therefore those expenses are in some ways not as discretionary. Other areas like legal services are very much up to what the city and this administration chooses to fund things at. And so that's going to be part of future budget negotiations.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Brewer?
Thank you very much. As we said earlier, and you referenced, is $800 million apparently coming for this effort from the federal. Do you have some recommendations as to where it should first be spent for the asylum seekers?
At some point, the city has been incurring costs. We don't know. One, to be clear, the $800 million is a national allocation, is my understanding. And like I said, this is just being announced as I was sitting out in the gallery. We don't know whether it's going to be retroactive, so will it apply to reimburse expenses the city has already incurred or only expenses going forward? And at some point, any federal dollar that can supplant a city dollar is savings for the city of New York.
Right. Okay, thank you.
Councilmember Hanif?
I just have a follow-up. Councilmember Krishnan's question. Do you have the cost that OMB is estimating? I know you mentioned that IBO is estimating a $2.2 billion increase in revenue. Do you have the number for OMB?
I do not have it right in front of me. It is in our fiscal outlook report, and we can get that to you.
Could you share if it's much lower than what IBO is estimating, or?
It is lower. They're estimating smaller tax revenues in their November plan.
Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. Now going to call on our next panel. Our next panel will be a virtual panel and will be in the following order, these individuals: Ann Pillsbury, Deborah Berkman, and Terry Lawson. Over now to Ann Pillsbury.
Your time will start now.
Hi, City Council members. Thanks for holding this hearing. Okay, we can't possibly address the problem of legal services in just the 2 minutes that I have. Oh, am I not on? Okay, am I on now?
We can see and hear you, Ann.
Okay, great, thanks. Sorry for the glitch. We can't possibly address the problem of legal services in just the 2 minutes, but let me just say, Central American Legal Assistance has been representing this population for decades, and we can crank out asylum applications probably as fast as anybody. And there's no way, even with double or triple the number of lawyers that are already on the ground in New York, that we can meet the need. So we have to realize that we're up against a real mission impossible, and that runs over to their eligibility for work authorization too. So under our existing asylum rules, there is no easy fix for this. But what we would urge the city to do is to really sit down and think carefully through how to fund what we can try to do. The RFP that none of us bid on was simply not realistic, and that's why nobody bid on it. So we're all kind of open and available to sit down and talk specifically about what we can realistically do. We can't staff up overnight to meet the needs of 15 or 20,000 new asylum seekers. And the other thing that sadly people have to wrap their minds around is that not everyone who has come into the city recently is an asylum seeker. Some people are fleeing all kinds of difficult situations, but not all of them make them appropriate asylum seekers. And we have to acknowledge that and focus on the ones that are. And that's a tough task. It takes at least 2 hours to do an asylum application just at the get-go. So anyway, that aside, we have a very practical request to make of the city government.
Time has expired.
Okay, just very quickly, they need to do something about sanitary services for the immigrants that are lining up overnight in front of 26 Federal Plaza. Our staff went down there last week to give out coffee and tea in the middle of the night, and it's a heartbreaking situation. And I think the city has a public health need on their hands that they need to raise with immigration, do something to provide those people with an alternative to standing in line all night long at 26 Federal Plaza. So, thank you.
Thank you, Ann, for your testimony. Over now to Deborah Berkman for testimony.
Your time will begin.
Thank you. Speaker Adams, Deputy Speaker Ayala, council members and staff, good afternoon, and thank you for the opportunity to speak to the New York City Council today. My name is Deborah Berkman. I'm the supervising attorney of the Shelter Advocacy Initiative and the Public Assistance and SNAP practice in the Public Benefits Unit at NILAG. And earlier today, you heard from Jody Zismer, who is my colleague who runs our Immigration Protection Unit, and I work on the shelter side of things. The Shelter Advocacy Initiative provides legal services and advocacy to people who are trying to access public shelter in New York City. I also have worked with numerous single adults and families who have recently crossed the southern border to seek asylum in the United States on their shelter issues. So earlier this year, when this sort of wave started, the asylum-seeking migrants who crossed the southern border and arrived in New York City were housed in the DHS shelter system, where they were ostensibly offered all of the same supports and protections as non-immigrant DHS residents. However, in September of this year, the mayor determined that these new New Yorkers were not going to be absorbed into the existing DHS shelter system, and instead created a new shelter system that did not comply with the minimum shelter guidelines mandated in New York City and didn't provide the residents with assistance transitioning to permanent housing. As you know, these new shelters are called HERCs, and they don't offer all the protections and services of DHS shelters. The city is failing these New Yorkers by diverting them there and not providing these people with all of the other services they need. As you know, the first HERC was a tent complex on Randall's Island, but even after they were moved inside, they still failed to meet the minimum standards for shelter in New York City. My clients report that they were not being provided with adequate food, that they didn't have assistance enrolling their children in school, and that they didn't have access to medical care. While a lot of this has abated, clients are still reporting not having caseworkers and not being served hot food. Also, very troublingly—
Your time has expired.
can I just continue very briefly?
Yes.
Thank you. Also troublingly, the residents of the HERCs are not eligible for the housing subsidies that allow families that experience homelessness to transition to permanent housing, which they may be eligible for if they resided in DHS shelter. That's a key difference between the HERCs and between DHS shelter, and it's very important. I also want to note that my clients who are living in DHS family shelter are not being investigated for eligibility, which seems like it would be a good thing because they don't have to undergo invasive eligibility examinations. However, if they are not found eligible for DHS shelter, then they will not be eligible for the housing vouchers that will allow them to transition to permanent housing. And contrary to what other people have been saying, many of these clients actually will be eligible for City FEPS. And I can explain, the nuts and bolts of it, but they would be eligible for City FEPS and they would be able to transition to permanent housing, but they cannot do so because they're not being found eligible for shelter. I'm submitting written testimony in addition to this, and thank you for your time.
Thank you, Deborah, for your testimony. Over now to Terry Lawson.
Time will begin.
Good afternoon. My name is Terry Lawson, and I'm the Executive Director of Unlocal, where we provide community education, outreach, education, and legal representation to New York City's undocumented immigrant communities. I'm also the co-founder and steering committee member of the Bronx Immigration Partnership. We thank Speaker Adams, Deputy Speaker Ayala, and the Committee of the Whole for convening this oversight hearing over these 2 days and for the efforts of every committee in your coordinated efforts for the city's immigrants. In collaboration with our partners at Central American Legal Assistance, Catholic Migration Services, MASA, Venezuelans and Immigrant AIDS, NILAG, and the Robin Hood Foundation, Unlocal will be launching the Pro Se Plus project this January, and we call on the New York City Council and this administration to support our efforts to support the recent arrivals. The vast majority of recent arrivals in New York require critical information, logistical support, and legal assistance to file for asylum and work authorization. As you have heard today, there are simply not enough funded immigration legal services lawyers in New York City to represent every individual who must file their application before their one-year filing deadlines start rolling in 2023. This is the reality that we are all grappling with. This moment calls for creativity, collaboration, and new resources, which is what the Pro Se Plus project, a pilot program that we invite the City Council and the administration to invest in, will prioritize. We believe many of the migrants who are making New York City their home will greatly benefit from detailed and updated information on how to file their asylum applications, what should be included in those filings, what evidence should be submitted, and what to expect at their ICE check-ins and court hearings. The Pro Se Plus project will equip recent arrivals with critical resources to maximize their success in representing themselves. We will conduct legal screenings, consultations, deliver educational presentations, give advice and counsel, and provide pro se assistance to help recent arrivals meet requirements in a complicated and ever-changing immigration legal landscape. We will also train community partners and volunteers on the detailed requirements of filing for asylum and employment authorization.
Your time has expired.
So that they will be well prepared and resourced when asylum seekers come through their doors seeking pro se assistance. In designing this project, we have consulted with New York City's experienced immigration, legal, and social services providers community and have shared our proposal with City Council staff because we believe that open-minded collaboration is the only way to create meaningful solutions in times of great need. At the same time, we recognize that we must be intentional about what we can realistically accomplish with a finite number of lawyers, paralegals, advocates, educators, and community partners. We also want to clarify that the Pro Se Plus project is meant to complement full representation in removal proceedings and does not and cannot replace the need for the city and the state to adequately fund full representation by immigration legal services providers, which simply cannot be met by the pro bono bar. We agree with all those who've testified today and yesterday that substantially more resources must be made available to compensate those seeking to provide meaningful assistance to immigrant New Yorkers, whether they arrived last week or in the last decade. We look forward to an opportunity to meet further with the council on how to realize our ideals as a city that welcomes immigrants humanely and competently. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember Krishnan?
Yes, thank you for your testimony. I just wanted to say it's good to see you, Ann Pillsbury, Terry Lawson. Thank you to all the panelists for the panel. And I just wanted to put on the record, thank you all so much for the work that you all do every single day in your organizations to represent immigrant New Yorkers. We know, and I'm sure you'd all agree, that legal services have been underfunded for years, and now more than ever. And we also know that legal services is crucial for immigrants coming here, especially asylum seekers, undocumented immigrants. It's a vital service that needs to be funded at a much greater level. So I just wanted to state for the record how important it is both for our city to be supporting immigration legal services at this time and how grateful we are to you all as the organizations on the ground doing this work every single day for years and especially in this moment too. So thank you all.
Thank you to this entire panel for your testimony. We are now going to move to the next virtual panel. The next virtual panel will be the following individuals in the following order: Eric Lee, followed by Rosanna Cruz, followed by Nilbia Coyote, followed by Hadil Mishal. Over now to Eric Lee.
Your time starts now.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Eric Lee. I'm Director of Policy and Planning for Homeless Services United. Thank you, Speaker Adams and Deputy Speaker Ayala, for allowing me to testify today. I will submit more detailed written testimony, but I want to highlight 4 major points to help address the migrant homelessness crisis in the city. The city should fast-track hiring of frontline staff to fill vacancies at HRA and DHS to eliminate delays for cash assistance, SNAP, one-shot deals, and rental assistance. Providers are reporting significant delays at public benefit centers, as well as, and as a result, applicants are seeing their public assistance applications denied or cases closed, one-shot deals denied, their ongoing city FEPs failed to renew, and households at risk of eviction or currently in shelter unable to qualify for rental assistance vouchers like city FEPs and FEPs. Our second recommendation is to bolster eviction prevention and legal services to meet the overwhelming demand in the community. Home bases are struggling with high vacancies and extremely high turnover, with staff burning out in record numbers. They have extremely high caseloads, and they're trying to balance the most urgent cases with less urgent cases who unfortunately have appointments stretching out weeks. To address this, the city could revise the home base RFP to expand staffing and right-size wages. They could open new home-based locations in areas with the greatest need, or they could develop a dedicated unit within home-based programs that focus solely on housing search and rental assistance applications. Our third recommendation is to establish a reliable DHS shelter pipeline for servitude shelter and normalizing the fiscal operations of DHS contracted programs. Nonprofits need to be in a fiscally healthy position to be able to absorb the risk of standing up new programs. This means reducing delays in contract registrations and amendments, fully reimbursing nonprofits for the cost of services provided, and comprehensive wage reform for the nonprofit world.
Your time has expired.
Do you mind if I just wrap up?
Yes, you may.
Okay, thank you. Our final recommendation is to expedite placements from shelter into permanent housing to shorten the time spent homeless. This can be accomplished by bolstering headcount at DHS and HRA units responsible for processing rental assistance applications and public benefits, as well as improving the City FEP's rule by removing the utility deduction and rent reasonableness tests, and expanding eligibility by removing the 90-day rule, the work requirement, as well as expanding City FEPs explicitly to households regardless of their legal status, and increasing the initial income limit from 200% federal poverty limit to 50% area median income. Thank you for the opportunity to testify.
Thank you, Eric, for your testimony. Over now to Rosanna Cruz.
Thank you for the opportunity to submit this testimony today. My name is Rosanna Cruz, and I'm the Senior Program Director of our Community Benefit Assistance Programs at Good Shepherd Services. Our programs are located in Park Slope and East New York and Brooklyn, New York, but we serve residents all throughout Brooklyn and Queens. Good Shepherd Services is part of a network of community organizations that created the Eastern Brooklyn Emergency Response Collaborative, which has been working together since the pandemic to address pressing neighborhood needs. In collaboration with the collaborative, we hosted 3 resource events for recently arrived immigrants and asylum seekers in the community, providing benefits and resources such as food, clothing, personal care, baby items, as well as legal and benefit enrollment assistance. The events were located and hosted within walking distance from shelters all throughout Brooklyn, but we did get residents from all over the shelters, recently arrived immigrants that are houses in shelters in the Bronx and also in East 116. The first event was held in October 25th, and we had over 400 asylum seekers looking for resources. At the next 2 consecutive events, we have over 550 and 300 individuals looking for legal services, as well as other essential items like clothing, mental health, and health insurance benefits. Today, my testimony will speak to what we have learned from our effort to support the asylum seeker. I would like to emphasize that COVID-19 pandemic exacerbated the conditions and the need that already existed. And with the inflow of asylum seekers, the needs are now greater. Community-based organizations have, and during COVID-19 pandemic, been responding to those needs with already limited resources. We have been using our own resources to provide essential needs to this community. The main needs that we are seeing within these individuals are clothing. At all the events that we hosted, they have been a high volume of men.
Your time's expired.
Asking for clothing. May I have an additional minute to cover others issues?
You may.
Thank you. I want to put emphasis on food. The rising food price have contributed to an increase in food insecurity. Many of the recently arrived immigrants do not qualify for SNAP benefit unless they have a USA citizen child or have already established their asylum status. Many of these individuals has visited our agency asking for help with food. We have children that are hungry, family complaining that they don't have enough food, and there's have explained that they are concerned with the shelters, the food, and the services that they are giving to the family. We cannot tell a hungry child that they only have access to 3 limited meals per day. When it comes to legal services, the lack of legal services is also a big concern for our asylum seekers and individuals in the community. It is our understanding that the USCIS is providing a list of free legal providers to this individual, but attempts by the individual in our own agency to access those services has been unsuccessful. Our agency has been calling this organization and legal providers to secure legal services for our community residents, but they have not been able to get anyone on the phone to get an appointment. The city should set up support to help asylum seekers easily access identification and legal documentation. They need to work with law students. They need to set up open clinic to help the asylum seeker apply for the asylum process. We understand that legal services is limited, but there are also resources that can be utilized to help the asylum seeker at least set up the immigration process. And lastly, when it comes to shelters, we are aware that individuals cannot stay in the shelter during the day. They have to leave the shelter early in the morning, and many of those individuals are young adults that has to stay on the street until they are allowed to go back into the shelters. The shelter needs to put in place day programming for this individual. We cannot have individual walking in the community without anything for them to do for 5, 6, 7 hours. There needs to be more vocational programming in place, more educational programming in place for this individual to spend their time during the day when they are not allowed to go back into the shelter. Lastly, we also want the shelters to increase their referral to community-based agency. We understand that they don't have resources to connect these individuals to all these essential services, but there are resources in their community, and they are failing to connect those individuals to us, the community agency that are the front line helping these individuals when there's a crisis. When it comes to mental health, there's a big stigma. There's a big taboo. Individuals that have been here visiting our agency, many of those individuals that come from country where mental health is not considered an essential services, often don't ask for the services. So we asking DSS and the system to implement all their strategy to connect this individual to mental health services. They will not openly come to you and say, I'm depressed or I'm suicidal. There needs to be better effort to connect them to services. Let's implement workshop in the shelter system. Let's have more workshop in the local school so that we can increase the awareness about mental health services and connect them to local community-based organizations.
I'm sorry, can we start to wrap up?
Yes. My last statement, the city opened the doors for newly arrived immigrants. Let's make sure that we keep those doors open, and let's make sure that we work together to repair any broken doors so that we can help these individuals reach their stability. Thank you for the opportunity to testify today.
Thank you, Rosanna, for your testimony. Now going to move to Nilbia for testimony.
Good afternoon. My name is Diana Moreno. I'm the Deputy Director at New Immigrant Community Empowerment, or NICE. Our Executive Director, Nilbia Coyote, is currently out on bereavement leave. We are delivering this testimony on behalf of the thousands of new migrants that are now members of NICE and are working hard to find a safe and dignified future in this country for them and their families. We are calling on the Mayor's Office and City Council to continue investing in organizations like NICE that are responding directly to this crisis and creating long-term pathways to success for these families, many of whom have risked their lives to be here. If you ask new immigrants what they need most after their basic needs for food, clothing, and shelter have been met, they will more likely say, work. We need jobs. This is what we must invest in impactful programs that focus on the long-term economic stability for this population. Supporting new immigrants is at the core of NICE's work. It's in our name. We're just a few blocks from La Parada, one of the busiest day labor corners in the country in Jackson Heights, Queens. We organize new immigrants, day laborers, and immigrant workers in New York City to build their collective power. And we do so by combining the strength of workforce development training and education on worker rights, advocacy, and programs that are tailored to this population. However, in recent months, along with our nonprofit partners, we have seen an exponential increase in people seeking our services. And this has swelled to levels higher than even the worst moments in the pandemic. Just a few examples. We held a once-a-month new member orientation in which we had about 40 to 50 new members to integrate into our organization. This past October, we had 350 people show up to our new member orientation, forcing us to increase that program from once a month to now 8 times a month. We hold it twice a month now. The reason is because that program is tied to our OSHA training, which is a free 30-hour safety training for our immigrant workers. We also have seen an exponential increase in job seekers coming to our worker center. We had an average of 400 to 500 people visiting our center. Now it's over 900 visitors looking for work. We've also had increased reports of workers accepting any job that comes to them, even at below minimum wage levels. We have people going to work for $10 an hour. This is unacceptable.
Time's expired.
Migrants are in dire need of stability, of dignified housing, of food, of clothing for the winter, but most importantly, to plan for their future. They need safe jobs and a steady income. Without legitimate work permits and information on how to stay safe and protect themselves, they are at grave risk of workplace safety violations, injury, and even death. You may have heard that just last week, 2 construction workers died at their job sites in Brooklyn and the Bronx. Recently arrived immigrants are now joining the ranks of the very vulnerable workforce of new immigrants, day laborers and undocumented workers looking for work in the construction industry to feed their families. The dangers migrants are exposed to in the construction industry are well documented and a cause for concern, with 80% of the deaths belonging to immigrant workers from Latin America. This is why thousands of asylum seekers are coming to us every week. To put it simply, nonprofits like ours that work on the front lines of this crisis are running out of money, space, and staff. Further investment from the mayor and city council is critical and will allow us to continue expanding our reach to meet the needs of the community. We also call on the appropriate agencies to do their part to further support migrants by clearing the significant OSHA and SST card printing backlogs, by making IDNYC truly accessible and available, and to create more culturally competent information and resources, which are so often critical barriers for this vulnerable population.
Can we wrap up? I'm sorry.
This is a crisis, but how we choose to respond to this crisis will determine the future of our city. Will we adopt xenophobic rhetoric and policies that link the presence of immigrants to rising crime while we cut basic services like libraries and schools? Or will we actually invest in our New Yorkers and their children and fund services that set them up for long-term success? NICE is prepared to partner with you to prepare immigrants for a dignified future in the greatest city in the world. We are grateful for the opportunity to speak with you today. And thank you for the council for your ongoing and sustaining support.
Thank you.
Thank you for your belief and continued investment in our work.
Thank you.
Thank you, Nilbia. Now over to Hadil Michel for the final testimony in this panel.
Your time will begin.
I want to thank the New York City Council for holding this hearing and giving the Asian American Federation the opportunity to provide testimony today. My name is Hadil Mishal, and I'm the Senior Civic Engagement Coordinator at the Asian American Federation. AAF represents the collective voice of more than 70 member nonprofits serving 1.5 million Asian New Yorkers. This migrant crisis has highlighted needs and policy shortcomings that must be urgently addressed, not just in this crisis, but to address the needs of all immigrant New Yorkers. As an extension of the difficulties faced by our immigrant communities over the past several years, funding for accessible immigration legal services has remained stagnant, even while demand has increased. The Asian American community is scrambling to find culturally competent, language accessible, affordable immigration legal advocacy in the aftermath. While we want to acknowledge the steps that City Council has taken to aid our communities, City Council should do its part and prioritize funding immigration legal services and case management provided by CBOs with a track record of making legal services accessible. Without Asian CBOs' ability to provide language and navigation support, few people would be able to access these legal services. As the migrant crisis continues to show, accessibility should be the first concern of the government. But as our immigrant community also bears a disproportionate burden of the basic need and security brought on by the pandemic, the city must reinforce safety net programs such as community health centers and clinics, as well as food pantries. The city should prioritize working with CBOs that have the expertise needed to make the most of every dollar in our communities by giving greater weight to organizations with a demonstrated track record of serving low-income, underserved immigrant communities with linguistic and cultural competency. Our CBOs are leading by example in the provision of direct services, from providing wraparound services that include mental wellness checks to working with food suppliers that provide culturally competent food. CBOs were the first in the city's initial response to the migrant crisis.
Time's expired.
And I just want to round out, give me 30 more seconds. And as we ask long-term sustainability questions, it'll be our CBOs that will be instrumental in restoring trust between our immigrants and the city. The city must also take measures to ensure that Local Law 30 is fully and consistently implemented across city agencies. In our work and the work of our member and partner organizations, we are constantly reminded that much of the language accessibility issues our community is grappling with relate to the issues of capacity. Immigrants are often the last to know about key information, and the pandemic has demonstrated that there's still so much work to be done in making sure our immigrants, many of whom are our frontline workers, benefit from the work of our city agencies. We at the Asian American Federation thank you for allowing us to testify, and we look forward to working with you all to make sure our communities get the support that they deserve.
Thank you. Councilmember Krishnan?
I just want to thank all the panelists and the organizations for their testimony. This question's for Diana Moreno at NICE, and grateful for the work that you all do with our immigrant workers, day laborers, both in Jackson Heights, Woodside, Elmhurst, and throughout New York City. One question I had was just a bit more detail at a very human terms about what an asylum seeker or new arrival might face coming here to secure even any job, to make any basic pay. One thing that struck me is we had partnered together and done an asylum resource fair in Jackson Heights. It was a rainy day, raining very hard, and there was a line with 300 people long even before the school opened. And I remember meeting someone that day who I then saw again coming back from City Hall one day on the 7 train, who was a few days later after our asylum resource fair. He's an asylum seeker, and telling me how he had a very difficult time securing work, trying to go from a job site to a job site, but for a lack of even basic identification documents, COVID paperwork, or even just basic necessities like a cell phone, for example, or anything like that, he was having a very difficult time even finding work to even make it by while staying at a church. But I just wanted to get a sense from you a bit more about what the struggle is like if you're coming here and trying to find a job. What are the barriers you're facing as a new asylum seeker?
Thank you so much for the question, Councilman Christian, and thank you so much for your support for the work that NICE does every day to empower immigrant workers. New immigrants face a number of obstacles in being able to obtain dignified, safe work. One of them that we try to respond to directly here at NICE is health and safety training. OSHA and SST certifications are passports to safe and dignified work for our members, many of whom are trying to enter the construction industry, which is an industry that employs a lot of undocumented workers. However, our capacity, even though we've actually doubled that capacity in the last few months, is limited, and we continue to have months-long waiting lists for immigrant workers to be able to get those life-saving trainings that will allow for them to work in a place like construction. But even before they get to take the OSHA training, as you mentioned, they need an identification. Everyone's looking for that ID NYC. And unfortunately, the access to that card is very limited, and it can be very confusing. Even navigating the website can be confusing for our new immigrants who may not have access to a cell phone or they don't speak the language. But other than that, there are other things that would facilitate the ability for our new immigrants to be able to get dignified work, including ITIN numbers. If the city would be able to invest in facilitating partnership with financial institutions that would allow for these new workers to apply for and obtain ITIN numbers, that would improve our new immigrants' ability to find dignified work. Something else that I do want to mention, with a team of 4 people, our worker rights team has recovered almost $300,000 this year alone of stolen wages. And that speaks to the kind of exploitation that our members face every single day, because even when they do find work, the employment conditions that they see themselves in often puts them at risk of wage theft and unsafe working conditions that, as you saw just from last week, can be fatal.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone on the panel, for your testimony. We will now move on to the next virtual panel, which will consist of the following people in the following order: Orlando Ivy, Elizabeth Angeles, Diana Arangundi, Priscilla Zarate, Alice Buffkin. I will now call on Orlando Ivy.
Your time will begin.
Thank you. My name is Orlando Ivy. I am the president and CEO of the Children's Rescue Fund, a Bronx-based nonprofit that provides transitional housing and services to families and individuals. As an organization, we're dedicated to assisting vulnerable populations and collaborating with our clients to empower them to self-sufficiency. Since 1992, CRF has provided critical housing and supportive services to thousands of families daily in facilities in the Bronx, Brooklyn, Manhattan, and Queens. We have placed over 6,000 families experiencing homelessness into permanent housing, connecting over 300 job seekers with employment, and provided educational support to over 800 children in our shelter-based child care programs. The demand for our services has never been higher. At this time of great urgency due to the housing crisis, increased demand for social services post-COVID, and unprecedented number of new migrants, CRF has pivoted to meet the need of our communities, opening 6 new facilities in 9 weeks. Our work is not just to ensure the basic needs are met, but that individuals and families can achieve long-term stability and are able to live and thrive in our great city. As the cities experience unprecedented demand for its services, nonprofits across the 5 boroughs have served as an essential relief valve. The success we have is testament to the ceaseless collaboration between nonprofits and the city. We'd also like to take this time to thank the City Council for all that you've done to welcome and support the needs of migrant families and asylum seekers. However, we believe that there's still more work to be done to ensure that new arrivals have the support they need to thrive. As a recent committee report for the Committee on Immigrations noted, individuals—
Time has expired.
Can I have another moment, please?
Make it brief, please.
I will. Individuals who are applying for asylum are often survivors of unimaginable atrocities. Some may have been separated from family and friends by conflict, violence, and chaos. We have seen the impact at our facilities firsthand. CRF is committed to providing employment support to those in our care. We strive to assess the skills and abilities of those who are eligible to work, to provide specialized job training and placement resources to assist them in their pursuit of employment that aligns with their unique talents. We would ask the council to help fund these endeavors to ensure that we are preparing our residents for success. I'm going to cut it short there, but once again, thank you for everything that you've done and will continue to do.
Thank you, and I want to acknowledge that we've also been joined by Councilmember Sanchez.
Thank you.
Moving on to our next panelist, Elizabeth Angeles.
Thank you for the opportunity to testify today. My name is Elizabeth Angeles, and I serve as the Vice President of Advocacy at the United Way of New York City. We partner across the business, government, nonprofit, and philanthropic sectors to fight for the health, education, and financial stability of every person in New York City. In September, we launched a fund to assess the most urgent needs of community partners supporting those arriving in our city seeking asylum, and to rapidly disperse funds to help our community partners take care of our newest neighbors in a dignified way. To date, we've awarded nearly $150,000 to 7 community-based organizations within specific areas lacking adequate funding. One of these areas, as we've heard about today, is dignified access to nutritious, culturally appropriate food. Our partners have needed funds to purchase hot meals, on-the-go meals, and non-perishables that can be transported or stored in shelters. It's critical that city leaders advocate to the state for sustained food assistance programs for asylum seekers and migrants to ensure that clients have kitchen access and or receive cooked meals if they are in housing without space to prepare food. Over the course of the year, United Way of New York City will direct more than $500,000 in unallocated funding of the Hunger Prevention and Nutrition Assistance Program to food organizations in communities most impacted. Our Food and Benefits Access Program regularly supports over 500 food pantries and soup kitchens with healthy, nutritious food, operational capacity building supports, and funds for capital equipment. Over the past few months, we've learned that our food providers are expanding their services to meet greater needs. For example, one of our pantry partners in the Bronx, affiliated with a hospital, shared that they typically limit pantry clients to visit only once a month. However, folks have needed and been allowed to visit more often. The pantries connecting them with additional care and services given their increased need. Pantries tell us they're no longer just a pantry as they strive to meet these needs. Pantries are providing clothing.
Your time has expired.
Thank you. I'll wrap up by saying pantries have provided clothing when they haven't in the past, and food access is only one of many areas where immediate and long-term additional support is needed. Funds that we've dispersed to CBOs have been used to support phone access, local and out-of-state transportation, and more. We know that multi-year investments for an exhausted human services infrastructure are needed. This has to include a focus on care coordination, sustained case management, and as we've heard today, an expansion of legal services. We'll expand on these needs in our written testimony. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Elizabeth. Moving on to Diana Arangundi.
Your time will begin.
Thank you for the opportunity to testify. My name is Diana Aragundi, and I am a senior staff attorney on the Immigrant Students' Rights Project at Advocates for Children of New York. The recent influx of immigrant families has highlighted the critical need for the DOE to better meet the needs of all immigrant youth. Through our Know Your Rights workshops at schools with high number of immigrant students, as well as our direct one-to-one assistance to families on education-related issues, we have seen schools that have insufficient resources and are ill-equipped to effectively serve immigrant students and their families. I am here today to urge the city to focus on 4 ways to better serve immigrant students and families so that they have the tools that they need to succeed in school. First, the DOE should ensure immigrant youth have access to bilingual staff and programs. Specifically, the DOE needs to ensure bilingual teachers and staff, including bilingual social workers and special education teachers, are in schools that have enrolled migrants this year. Additionally, the DOE must educate immigrant parents about their rights related to EL programs, including the right to transfer to a school that offers a bilingual program if their current school does not offer one. Second, immigrant families have sought out our help because their children have disabilities but are not receiving any special education services. The DOE must train school staff to identify students who are suspected of having a disability and promptly refer them for special education services in accordance with the law. School staff should not delay in referring a student merely because they've been in the United States for a short time or have limited English language proficiency. Third, the DOE should better identify and serve older immigrant youth. We have met older immigrant youth who do not know that they have a right to school. We commend the DOE for recently opening seats for newly arrived older youth in 6 transfer high schools in Queens, the Bronx, and Brooklyn. For these programs and students to succeed, the DOE should provide all school staff at these schools with professional development, hire additional ENL teachers and bilingual social workers, offer culturally responsive wraparound supports and services so that all educators are prepared to support older immigrant youth. Finally, it's imperative that the city continue working on ways to engage new immigrant families whose home language is not English,
Time is expired.
including those who have lower levels of literacy and access to digital media. We urge the DOE to ensure that each school has a language access coordinator and educate school staff about their obligation to provide parents with quality, culturally appropriate translation and interpretation services. Thank you for the opportunity to testify today.
Thank you so much for your testimony, Diana. Moving on to Priscilla Zarate.
Time starts now.
Good afternoon. Thank you to the New York City Council and the committee for the opportunity to testify today. My name is Priscilla Zarate, and I serve as the president of the New York State Association for Bilingual Education, also known as NYSABE. I am here on behalf of NYSABE, an organization representing multiple language groups and educational sectors throughout New York State with a mission to promote services for multilingual learners, also known as English language learners, through instruction in their home language and English. NYSABE promotes high-quality bilingual education programs to ensure the academic success and social-emotional development of students as they develop bilingualism and biliteracy, which provides a pathway towards equitable participation in a global, multilingual, and multicultural world. The effectiveness of bilingual education programs for multilingual learners is widely supported in educational research. In part, this is because children do not learn academic subject matter or are able to stay on grade level if they cannot understand the language of instruction. Multilingual learners have 2 tasks at hand: to learn subject matter and at the same time learn English. As a result, multilingual learners require language supports in order to succeed in school. Students who have the opportunity to attend bilingual education programs where the use of their home language is embedded in the instruction, is sustained over time, typically outperform their peers in monolingual English-only programs. Bilingual programs teach the subject matter in both English language and the home language to accelerate English language acquisition and subject matter mastery. NYSABE is here today for an urgent and pressing issue: to advocate for newly arrived migrant students to be placed in schools with bilingual programs and to strengthen schools' capacity to serve their academic, linguistic, and social emotional needs. Migrant students are being placed in city schools that are not necessarily prepared to serve them. The reality is that there was a shortage of bilingual education programs and bilingual educators.
Your time has expired.
That proceeded. Can you allow me a couple of minutes? One more minute, please.
Yes.
Thank you. The reality is that there was a shortage of bilingual education programs and bilingual in New York City that preceded the arrival of the latest wave of migrant students. Unfortunately, the proportion of multilingual learners enrolled in bilingual education has dramatically declined over the last few years, a problem which has exacerbated the ongoing shortages of bilingual teachers, administrators, and support personnel. The migrant students arriving today will be our doctors, social workers, teachers, community leaders, thriving citizens that will be taking care of all of us over the next 10, 20, or 30 years as we grow older. It is a wise investment for our city and state to provide the necessary funding required to support these students now and afford them academic success and the ability to become productive citizens of their communities. We call for the City Council to provide the budget necessary to ensure that every migrant child entering the New York City schools has the opportunity to enroll in a school that offers bilingual education and schools that prepare and experienced and give them the experience in providing high quality education ready to meet the students' needs. So the funding needs that we're asking for is funding to increase access to bilingual programs for migrant students to ensure they are placed in schools that can serve them appropriately, funding to provide bilingual educators that come from similar language and cultural backgrounds that can better support migrant students and their families in the languages they speak. In other words, language accessibility, funding to provide high quality bilingual programs such as dual language programs, funding to create new and increase bilingual teacher development pipelines in different educational positions where we're facing extreme shortages in the educational system in New York State, including bilingual teachers, bilingual social workers, bilingual guidance counselors to support our immigrant students and their families and close the current bilingual teacher shortages. And finally, funding to support coordinated wraparound services for our immigrant students and their families, as stated by other panelists. Thank you once again for the opportunity to testify.
Thank you so much, Priscilla. Last on this panel, Alice Bufkin.
Your time will begin.
Good afternoon, members of the committee. Thank you for this opportunity to provide testimony today. My name is Alice Bufkin. I am the Associate Executive Director of Policy and Advocacy at Citizens Committee for Children. Migrant youth and families who are arriving in New York deserve all the opportunities, support, and access to available programs and initiatives that New York can offer. In our written testimony, we provide additional recommendations, including the need to expand SYEP to undocumented students, the need to expand city nutrition and food programs for immigrant New Yorkers who are eligible for federal programs, the need to expand mental health supports, and the need to enhance supports for English language learners. As we consider the immediate responses that are necessary to support migrant New Yorkers, we urge the city to partner with community-based organizations to enhance supports. This includes funding and providing essential items such as clothing, toiletries, cash assistance, food, and transportation aid, as well as school supplies. As you've heard today, many partner organizations have provided assistance to migrant families using a combination of private and public donations, but we must have more permanent wraparound funding streams from the city to support CBOs as they support the ongoing needs of migrant New Yorkers. We also need to ensure that all the city's contracted programs have access to translation and interpretation services, both written and verbal. And we need to make immediate funding available for more lawyers and legal professionals that specialize in immigration law. And as you've heard repeatedly today, we need to ensure that proposed RFPs and contracts are developed in a way that actually supports the provision of these services. As you've also heard repeatedly today, housing access for migrant families is one of the most fundamental and urgent needs. We first need to expand City FEP's eligibility to undocumented families. We must help these families move into permanent housing as quickly as possible. The city should also address the chronic issues within our housing system that have unnecessarily filled our shelters and prevented people from accessing permanent housing. When we can get more New Yorkers housed, we have more capacity to support migrant New Yorkers as they arrive in the city. These solutions include ending the 90-day rule of shelter stay, which I know is a priority for this council. We know how much this further extends the unnecessary lengths of stay for families. We need to eliminate chronicity eligibility requirements, such as requiring shelter history or housing court eviction to receive city FEPs. Again, this helps prevent housing insecure families from staying in their homes and out of shelter. And I'll just end by saying we have concerns around potential pegs and reductions. One more moment. Reductions to essential agency staffing at a time when we think investments in HRA and other social service agencies are more important than ever. Thank you so much for having this hearing.
Thank you. We have questions from Councilmember Brewer.
Thank you. For the head of the Children's Rescue Fund. My question is about the food. What Christine Quinn said is that at WIN, which is well-resourced, they have to come up with 3 meals a day, diapers, etc. You've got 6, I think you said, locations where asylum seeking families are located. How are you handling some of the issues that she mentioned with the food and the diapers and the extras? Yeah, Orlando. That's for Orlando Ivy, who's head of the Children's Rescue Fund. Thank you. It went off.
Orlando, are you on? We can come back then.
Thank you so much to everyone on the panel. We're now going to move on to our next panel, which will consist of Marie Mongion and Charlene Obenauer. I will now call on Marie.
Your time will begin.
Thank you so much for having me today. My name is Marie Monjon, and I'm the Senior Director of Policy with the Community Healthcare Association of New York State. We represent the state's federally qualified health centers that provide care to 1.2 million New Yorkers across the city each year. Health centers provide high-quality, comprehensive primary preventive care and connection to social services to everyone, regardless of ability to pay, insurance coverage, or immigration status. When the news came that the asylum seekers would be bused to New York City from the Texas and Mexico border, health centers were among the first community partners to begin collaborating with city government to ensure asylum seekers were connected to the high-quality, comprehensive primary care that they deserve. Health centers' work with asylum seekers has included conducting initial assessments to identified needs, providing vaccinations to children for school, connecting people to supportive services like housing, and providing medical, oral, and behavioral health services. This care has been taking place in clinics, in school-based health centers, in hotels, and in shelters across the city. The asylum seekers' arrival to New York City comes amidst an unprecedented workforce shortage in health centers and across the healthcare system. Although health centers have been able to integrate care for asylum seekers into their existing workflows, those workflows have quickly become overwhelmed and their schedules are in many cases overfilled. Significant investment in healthcare workforce is required to ensure that health centers can keep up with the demand for services, especially for behavioral health, since many asylum seekers have endured long and traumatic journeys and may have undiagnosed behavioral health needs. More immediately, many health centers are working with the Department of Health and Mental Hygiene to bring DOHMH hired staff into their clinics to help with the urgent need to ensure that all children are enrolled in New York City schools meet vaccination requirements. Some of the immediate needs, we've heard them again and again: Spanish-speaking care coordinators who can help asylum seekers navigate the confusing healthcare system, translation and interpretation services, legal services, and also improved transportation support. Thank you so much for the opportunity to testify. I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you so much for your testimony, Marie. Moving on to Charlene.
Your time will begin.
Hi, this is Charlene Obenauer. I'm the Executive Director of the New York Committee for Occupational Safety and Health. And I want to testify in a similar vein to Diana Moreno at NICE about the services that are needed in terms of job placement and OSHA and SST training for immigrant workers, especially for folks who are coming in right now and for the organizations that are providing this training. We are all overwhelmed with the amount of training that we have to provide. It's simply not feasible for us to be able to meet the need without a dramatic increase in funding. For folks who may not know, Local Law 196 requires 40 hours of construction safety training before someone is eligible to work on a job site in New York City. And as a result of this law, people who are coming into the city need this training that right now Small Business Services has partnered with 5 organizations to provide. NICOSH is the Manhattan provider, Worker Justice Project is the Brooklyn provider, New Immigrant Community Empowerment is Queens, Catholic Charities is the Bronx, and La Colmena is Staten Island. So among these 5 organizations, we are delivering training to folks who are coming in, to folks who are already here. And simply put, there's just not enough people who are eligible to train. There are not enough people who are able to conduct the training. So like other people, I mean, I kind of feel bad giving this testimony because it's like we need a dramatic influx of resources in order to be able to meet the training that people need, so that we can stop draining social services, so that people can start to begin their jobs, so that we are no longer as reliant as we are now on social services for folks, because once they gain employment, they'll be able to pay for, some basic necessities that they have. So unlike other people, I am going to surrender my time. Thanks so much.
I want to acknowledge that we were also joined by Councilmember Feliz. Any questions? Okay.
Orlando Ivy, if you are still on the Zoom, if you could please unmute. We have a question from Councilmember Brewer. Orlando Ivy.
I apologize. Yes, I am.
Thank you very much. My question is, when we heard from Christine Quinn, who runs, as you know, WIN, she said that it's really hard to get the meals for those who are asylum seekers, because normally you can obviously have some food, but then you can get SNAP, and so it's a different situation. Diapers, all the necessities of just living in our city. So I'm wondering, how are you handling the food situation, and what are you doing to be, obviously these families need more than the families that you're usually used to serving. So I wanted to hear your take on what Christine Quinn said.
So what we're doing is at some of our facilities where migrants are, the city, the Department of Homeless Services is providing prepared meals that are catered. At some of our other facilities where there are cooking facilities, we are partnering with other nonprofits to get dry goods so that the families are able to prepare wholesome meals for themselves. We're getting donations of food. We're working with everyone to make sure that these people are getting, these migrants are getting the nutritious food that they certainly need and deserve.
I appreciate that. It's my understanding that they're not happy, not at Children's Rescue, but in general with the quality of the food. They need refrigerators. Christine Quinn said she bought refrigerators. So I guess you make it sound like it's okay, but it sounds to me like the city should be doing more on the food front, because everybody needs food, as we know. And so I'm just wondering, have you made any other requests to the city, or you think the food situation is okay?
Well, we can always do more. Certainly in facilities where food is being prepared, there are some concerns about the cultural diversity of the food, and we're working with vendors to really alleviate those issues. In cases where it's a cooking facility, certainly there's always going to be a need for services, because a number of the migrants don't have open PA cases, they don't get food stamps. We're really reliant on donations. So certainly if we can find new ways to fund food, it would be appreciated.
I appreciate what you're saying. I guess what I'm saying is, having done this work for a long time, those that are housing asylum seekers who are used to housing people who can get SNAP should be speaking up more, because just us who are talking about this, I know that it's been in the press, but you need to say something to the city that this is not acceptable. People need to have food, diapers, everything they need to raise a family. And I just wish all of you would get together and say something about what the challenges are, because you know better than we do. Thank you very much.
Understood. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Orlando, and thank you to everybody in the last panel. We will now call our final panelist. If you are present on Zoom, if you could please use the raise hand feature. Mario Russell, Theodore Moore, Mariangela Gianamichu, Vijay Dandapani, Marian Zaki, Danielle Demuse.
Your time will begin.
If there is anybody else that's present on Zoom or is here in the building, if you would please like to testify, please let us know. So thank you to all of our panelists, and that concludes our public testimony for today.
Thank you, and once again, I want to thank the staff for helping us put this together. I think this is a really important conversation to have, and really excited to be able to do that as a committee of the whole, which we haven't done before, and I think was really essential in terms of trying to get information. Regarding a crisis that touches on so many different city agencies. So I think that it's been an informative 2 days. I want to thank all of you who came to testify, who joined us in person via Zoom. Obviously, this is an ongoing conversation. There is still a lot that is happening. As has been noted in the last 24 hours, there have been changes to the Title 42 rule. There's also been, a somewhat of a commitment for $800 million to the city. With some of it coming to New York City. So there's a lot of moving pieces to this, but I think that it's very clear that there still continues to be a high need for linguistically appropriate staff, for attorneys to address the immigration concerns of asylum seekers, for appropriate meals. And as Councilmember Brewer just noted, I think it's really atrocious that we have not come up with a way to include additional funding for hot meals at these facilities, whether you're living in a shelter or you're living in a hotel. I think that these families are in desperate need of something, right, that makes them feel like remember what it feels like to be a family and to share a warm meal. So we would like to see a lot of that, quite frankly. But thank you all, and with that, this hearing is adjourned.